Motor Vehicle Legal Report. Today's date is January 14, 2019, and we have in our presence, we have our Director Shaw, we have Assistant General Counsel Sarah Page, we have Jason Gilliam. I see Barry Woodson was back there somewhere, and we have our Chairman Roberts. We have Commissioner Galvin, Commissioner Norton, we have Commissioner Kramer, and myself, Commissioner Jackson. I think I saw Commissioner Vaughn somewhere, and I see Commissioner Ronnie Fox, and we have Attorney John Lyle, and we have some other guests in the audience, so I don't know your name, but if you'd like to stand right quick and give us your name, we appreciate it.
David Norton.
Bob Bellucci. I'm a board member with the Tennessee Independent Dealers Association.
Welcome.
Carl White, I'm Executive Director of the Tennessee.
The two gentlemen.
I'm Scott Schaefer. I'm the principal owner of Target.
Welcome.
Mark Sawyer. I'm the
Welcome. All right, we're going to begin. I see another gentleman back there. Welcome. All right. Thank you for coming this morning. Attorney Page.
Good morning, members of the Commission. Thank you so much for taking time to review this case. The first note of business I'd like to note is I've heard that number 5 made it to you with a name on it. If that case, just to remedy that, if that's someone you know or feel like you can't make an unbiased decision about, please feel free to recuse yourself. But otherwise, we'll continue on with that case. It's not a critical error to do that, but we just want to note if that's someone you recognize or just generally feel uncomfortable voting on because of that error, feel free to recuse yourself. There's no harm there. But with that, I know this is quite an extensive report, and this is my first one doing pretty much solo, with the exception of some of our represents. So I'll do my best to answer the questions you have. But please let me know. I also apologize. This didn't get the most thorough proofing for typos due to the meeting moving up. But otherwise, so I apologize for anything you see there. But let me know, and I'll happily correct it for the minutes. Mm-hmm.
I think we had a few items that we want to have some question about. I'm going to ask Commissioner Norton. I think he had number 21, I believe, that you...
Yes, good morning. First case to look at is 21. Just if you could brief us, it looks like this is a previous case where they left a scenario out. And just could you brief us on the previous penalty? And does it look like we're still to collect this penalty?
Sure, absolutely. We can take a look at this. Yes, so there is currently an open consent order that we are working with the respondent on. The penalty total, I believe, was $1,500, but I can double check that for you. But the reason this one came in late, so it didn't get added in with these others that have already moved forward. And so for that reason, because he's already signed they're working on signing the consent order and everything is resolving, I didn't think it was necessarily appropriate to add this one on, so I recommended an issue of a letter of warning. The mitigating factor also on that being that this respondent did go pay for their own lawyer and have worked diligently to make sure all of these consumers are whole and clean up the business on that end. They've also moved to an electronic tag system to help in the future. So I thought a letter of warning on this complaint, since they handled it pretty quickly and professionally with us on those other 3, seemed like an appropriate remedy.
Okay, but that's just making sure that we're understanding the previous penalty was still in play.
Yes,
Okay.
they paid that, and they are working with the consent order now.
Okay.
I think all of us, case number 33, is that the next one?
Sure.
Could you brief us on case 33?
Yes. This was a dealer. We're still trying to figure out exactly what's going on, to be honest with you. There's open complaints still pending and investigations still coming in. So I definitely wanted to monitor this one and collect evidence and bring this back to you, and I even have a better picture of who's responsible for what. So this was an incident where revenue local police contacted Revenue after seeing what they all believed to be an inactive location selling vehicles again without any active licenses for that location. The location advertised, it had the advertisement on the road sign for the dealership that was previously there, still had its name on the road sign. And when you look when you talk to them, they're active for that the road sign business. They still have an active license for a period of time there, but allegedly we're no longer actually in the location. They just hadn't notified us that they were closed. When our agents went out to speak with the individuals operating out of that location, they say, no, we're this different dealership. We're just, in this same location. Revenue ended up taking pictures of 20 open titles, copies of bills of sales. The salesperson that was there did identify themselves as the owner. There was also a vehicle with a dealer tag that was that they claim was from a separate lot at this point. We ended up identifying a couple of individuals, probably a total of 3 that were selling out of that location. None of them had licenses that we were able to find that were at least associated with the active license on that location. And we've been working to contact the previous owner of the dealership that was there and that is licensed to figure out, are you authorizing these individuals and things like that? And that's where we're at in the investigation. So we're working with Revenue, hoping to figure out what's going on and who's responsible. So it is a little confusing.
Thanks for clearing that up.
Absolutely.
I
It was a
guess.
strange one.
Commissioner Galvin, can we go back to case number 4?
Absolutely.
I'm just curious on the first complaint, respondent not sold a vehicle without airbags. And this case is going into litigation monitoring, is that correct?
That's correct.
So where do we stand? Just
Sure. So this case has been a little contentious. The individual who complained is a former employee that the respondent claims they fired for cause, for defrauding them on car parts, that he was their rebuilder and that he was defrauding them. After that happened, that former employee has been very active at every level of making a lot of allegations against this dealership for a multitude of wrongs. The main, I think, and the most serious we all want to keep an eye on is whether they were knowingly selling vehicles that didn't have airbags or in modifying that sensor to hide that fact. In the meantime, though, these parties have filed pretty extensive lawsuits against each other, with actually the initiating lawsuit coming from the dealership against the complainant for defamation. So any defamation case, the way that you would, if the complainant in this case were to succeed in killing that defamation claim, he would have to prove what he was saying was true. And so the concept being, we've had a very difficult time finding people to cooperate with us on this investigation, seeing vehicles. The vehicle that we were able to identify and actually locate that was involved in one of the ones that was alleged to have this issue, the dealership cooperated us for a little bit, and then ultimately it's a corporate dealership, their legal counsel stepped in and didn't want to necessarily be involved since they weren't named in any of the complaints. That dealership did confirm that when they got the vehicle, it looked like airbags were cut out of it. But when or where that happened, or whether it was even our complainant, we just don't know. So the idea with putting it in litigation monitoring was, I would hope, through the legal system, that if this complainant prevails, what that tells us is that they prevailed on the truth before a court of law, and that would allow us to then go forward and really dig into these allegations. But at this point, there's not anything concrete to grasp on. There's a lot of receipts I received for different parts, but if you look at who actually ordered these parts and even the sensor blockers or the things he alleges does that, it was actually the complainant himself on a private, personal eBay username. It wasn't through the dealership. So it's difficult to know that if he isn't fabricating this evidence. So at this point, we don't have any solid proof the dealership did anything. So I thought this was the safest way of not saying we're going to ignore it, but allowing another body of law to look at all the evidence and make him come forward with it.
same time, complaint number 2, a personal friend from Turkey sold him a vehicle without a...
Yes, that's the allegation in this case. They didn't produce a deal file at all in this case. I I think a penalty could be warranted here. I put
That
it,
was my question. I mean, you're offering just a warning. I think it needs to be a fine of
I
some
think
kind.
that is appropriate here. I went back and forth just because I have my main witnesses not in the country and accessible to me, but I think it's a pretty simple case. So I think either is appropriate. I'd be happy to modify that. Do you think we usually do $500 for that allegation? Does that sound reasonable?
I would
to the
recommend a
commission?
$500 fine.
Perfect. Not a problem.
Sounds reasonable.
Right, number 2, would that follow? Okay.
The other case, case number 20. Has a lot of, the dealership was open, it's not open, the owner has been sick, the salespeople have been working there, and they've been licensing. Can you just go through this thing, because it's sort of unclear, and I'm not too sure, I mean, if we're doing the right thing here or not.
Sure. This is one I intend to bring back to you as well. It's a situation where we noticed mail was being returned from the location, and that there was a lot of people associated on that license as salespeople. Often our staff does a fantastic job of noticing a dealership that doesn't necessarily appear to have the volume to merit that many salespersons, and we look into whether they're operating as independent brokers or they're out in the community and selling from their own properties through that dealer license. So we investigated that to see if that was what was happening here. When we got there, the dealership was open, but the owner was not able to cooperate. He had quite extensive surgery. He had a legal counsel contact us and let us know what was going on and why he wasn't able to cooperate. We did have him go through those salespersons lists for us when he was able before surgery and notify us of which ones were no longer there. That brought down the list pretty significantly. A lot of them were allegedly terminated, and he never notified us, which is a common problem we run into. He does acknowledge that he calls his salespersons independent salespersons, and we have run into this lately where they're using that terminology, but then the deals are happening at the location. So
That's
how
what
independent
doesn't make
they
sense.
are.
Exactly.
No, it's a very strange way. I think the only thing that they're independent on is accessing or acquiring inventory through the dealership at auction. That's the allegation. But that's where I want to know if that's true. That's the part I'm holding on. I want to see what I anticipate asking for when he is recovered and the dealership is back unlocked and ready for us to look at is show me all of these sales paperwork. Show me the proof that these sales are actually occurring at your dealership and that the dealership is the one, I know Paula brought this up as a really good point of a place to look at an investigation is who's giving them the funds to purchase these vehicles at auction, seeing if that's something, is it a dealer credit, how does that work? So we're trying at this point to confirm what the salesperson and the dealer say, which is these sales occur at the lot, we just go and acquire our own inventory and bring it back here and solicit our own sales, but it's through the dealer under our bond on our paperwork, which is a harder question. It's a little more in line with what we would want a dealer to be doing versus what we know we don't want them doing, which is it's really just a shell where everyone's actually at their house selling on Craigslist. So that's the part I'm looking for proof on that I don't have yet. I recommended close and flag in this case with the intention that me and legal counsel are speaking. That would take it off the report while we waited because it's going to be an extensive wait. And it didn't feel appropriate to say litigation monitoring because there's not really litigation pending. However, that is a different option. I think that our staff we could probably do that status instead of closing and flagging in case there's a fear we miss it. We could put it in a litigation monitoring type status so we can follow back up. I'm really just looking for a way to make sure we're meeting our metrics, but also make sure we don't forget this in 6 weeks. We want to follow back up with our investigators.
The only problem I have, it says the owner indicated the dealership would be closed approximately 6 weeks.
Right.
Which to me, the dealership's closed. But then it says salesman associates with the dealers were not part of the business any longer. I mean, but they're still there. It just doesn't make sense.
Right, exactly.
And
That's what we're concerned about as well. Yeah, so if it helps, we can, instead of doing close and flag because of a fear of perhaps it being missed and us letting this go on, we could put in a litigation monitoring status. That way, with put a six week a reminder on our calendars upstairs and make sure that we get back with our investigator to go back out there physically.
I'd like to reopen this case, especially 6
Perfect.
weeks, and bring it up next time.
That's not a problem. That's 100% the intent as well. So
Here's they're still operating, they're just not, they're operating under the closed status. The brokers are still operating and selling cars, it sounds like, they're just not doing it.
we don't have proof of that. What I think what I meant in my summary here is that many of the licenses weren't active, and he listed a much smaller number of salespeople as being still associated with the dealer license, but that they're still employed, but that he's on a temporary shutdown. So we have had two different investigators out there, and it does seem to be that it is shut down. But you're right. One of the things we'll look at is there any sales linked to this dealer's license during even this 6-week period? And so the county clerks know that we're looking into this, and they have been trying to keep an eye out for anything that's associated with this dealership and to let our investigators know, because we have two working this case. So hopefully we'll keep an eye on it and keep monitoring it.
We had one more, I believe, fifth case, 33.
I think we covered 33.
33?
I had
Oh,
another.
yeah, we did.
What?
56, we had 56, that's what I meant to say. Case number 56, where it was a $5,000 fine.
Yes, this is a case where the dealership asked the complainant to use, not knowing it wasn't their address, on a sales document so that the vehicle could be registered in a county that didn't require emissions. There was other issues, mechanical issues, of why this ended up coming up to us with the vehicle, and then ultimately that complainant figured out that they wanted to register it in their county and it wouldn't pass emissions after it's all said and done. So I thought this was pretty bad to have someone knowingly lie on paperwork in order to avoid a state requirement or even a federal requirement in some ways. So that's why I went a full $5,000 civil penalty. Whether it is their first offense, so if you think that's high, I definitely understand that. And so I'm open to any suggestions you all have, but that was kind of my logic on it.
My concern was simply the fine, but you've explained that because he's been in business 5 years, even though he had had no infraction, but he knew what he was doing was wrong according to the motor vehicle law.
Yes, and he doesn't deny that he did it. He reimbursed the complainant the money on their sale because they couldn't ever register the vehicle in their county of residence. But all the response said was, I have reimbursed the money to the respondent. Didn't deny doing this.
A common practice of fraud that we see where you have a business that will sell vehicles that they know clearly cannot pass emissions testing, and so they'll try to get it registered in an adjoining county so that they can circumvent that process. And then it's the first time that a vehicle is registered. It can be registered in the county that's sold, or it can be registered in the county of residence of the individual. And so they're taking advantage of that caveat in the law, and they use that to circumvent that emission testing. So once they get that car, they'll get it registered the first time, and then the consumer will come up next year when their tags renew, and they'll want to come back to their home county of residence, and they can never get it through emissions testing, and it causes a great hardship on a consumer.
I just had a comment, a question on case number 62. Looks like, well, the dealer is a failed business. It currently has an expired dealer's license that's in the grace period, and it's asking to authorize the revocation of the respondent's dealer's license. Are you asking for a recommendation, or is that something that's going to be done?
Yes, well, we are seeking revocation of this license, even though this one is closed. To me, this is reminiscent of the formal hearing that we had on a similar fact pattern. I don't always ask for the revocation when it's very clear the business is closed and they're cooperating with the bond, but there becomes a point when you look at these individual sales where there is an element of knowing what you're doing, and you know that you're leaving more than just a few consumers. I think sometimes dealers reach the expiration of what they're able to maintain and keep floating with these floor planners, and 3 or 4 titles will go through and they'll work with the bond and they'll close. That's different to me than when I get a case like this where it's ongoing for months of floating titles and getting 15, 16, 20 consumers out there where your bond will never make them whole. And so I know we don't necessarily want to, this happens so often, unfortunately, and they are difficult to prosecute for locating them. I don't necessarily think we have to do all the way to revocation every time, but in these more egregious matters, I believe it's a good step to take to make a point. I know that we talked about that at that formal hearing when we had our deliberations as well. So that's where I try to draw the line, but unfortunately this is a common fact pattern.
One more. In the summer, we had a huge issue in West Tennessee related to a dealer. I think the law enforcement had problems even dealing with that. Can you give us an update on that situation?
Absolutely. We will be, Paula Shaw and I and Tony Glandorf upstairs the 24th. We will be making a pilgrimage to Memphis. We're going to be meeting with the Attorney General there as well as the District Attorney's Office. And we're going to be having a joint enforcement meeting to try to pool resources, make sure everyone has all the same information, and make an action plan on what to do. Unfortunately, while they've changed the name of the business again and they are alleging that individual's no longer working at these locations, we have a recent investigation back that he is back up doing exactly what they were before, selling rebuild vehicles, salvage vehicles, without a license, without disclosures, and so it is still occurring. There were criminal charges pending against them in Shelby County, but unfortunately they were dismissed on an issue that the DA felt on proof. So that's something we're going to be talking about too, is whether additional criminal action can be taken, and the AG's office is looking at civil action. And so it's still moving. Where I'm excited that they want to meet with us. I think it's a great thing, and it'll make good relationships, I think, with the county, and so maybe in the future we can have an even quicker and more solid working foundation.
Presumptive relief still moving through?
That is one of the questions,
Okay.
and whether both criminal and civil at the same time are the best, or whether criminal. So hopefully I'll give you all an update at our next meeting following that meeting. But I'm glad to see some of our larger state agencies and criminal agencies hearing us out.
We're continuing to monitor it closely.
Yes.
Just one other one, Commissioner Galvin here. Case 58, the respondent was charged a non-refundable $500 deposit for a whole check. Whole checks are very deceiving and deceptive. And curious of the policy or procedure on this case, and did we do the right thing, or?
I think that it could go either way. I struggle with this one because whether it is truly, sorry about that, I just noticed in paragraph I have a sentence that ends. I'll remedy that for the minutes. But if this commission believes not having the consumer sign that it is non-refundable is a false, fraudulent, or deceptive act, I believe a penalty can be warranted in these cases. But you're right, we run into these problems a lot, where it seems to be that they're verbally told. At the end of the day, it seems everyone you can tell from the way the complainants talk that they probably understood at some level that this was non-refundable. But I think consumers inherently don't understand the idea that if they ultimately don't take the vehicle, why in the world they should have to lose that money. There are cases that we get fact patterns where it's very clear that it was really quick, that car wasn't held for very much time, and that maybe it was even the dealer's fault. The vehicle ended up being, in terrible mechanical condition, something like that. In those cases, I think we have done penalties. There's the other side of it where this one's a little closer, where it seems the consumer did, I'm going to buy the vehicle. Well, actually, I want this different vehicle, things like that. In this case, they claim that they were actually going to transfer that $500 to the second vehicle that they wanted, but that the consumer, I think that's this. Let me look real quick, make sure I'm not lying, because we had two cases similar.
I think that was that one.
Yeah, they are not informed that the deposit was non-refundable. No signed agreement if it does appear. Intended the result. Collecting a non-refundable holding vehicle, the sale is tied to.
I think one thing to consider in these cases is you'll have the ethical dealer that will do this in good faith and everything's well intended, and you've got a consumer that may misrepresent what their intentions are. They change their mind. They have buyer's remorse in 24 hours. But then you have the other scenario where you may not be dealing with an ethical business, and they know that $500 is all that the person has, and they let them drive off the lot with it with no intention of giving the $500 back. We have seen that too, or whatever the deposit money is too. So when you don't have, and I think to Sarah's point, when you don't have something in writing clarifying that, what the actual intention was, it makes it hard to determine and to distinguish between an ethical business and one that may not be operating quite as ethically. And I think that's what the point of this particular case is.
I just have a hard time, the word non-refundable. Shouldn't be there. I mean, that's my opinion.
I think most of the time that we've seen this, where we've had dealers that actually conducted their operations this way and they were ethical, in the end, they end up having to pay the money back because there's question there left. And on the when it actually gets pushed to any level, if it goes to civil court or anything like that, the courts are going to come back and say that you basically didn't have this clarified. So as a matter of a practice, if you don't have something in writing for sure, it's going to be problematic.
Right, exactly. And I did mix this up with a different case. There was another case where we have a similar issue, but it seemed to be the complainant's misunderstanding. They were going to transfer that money to the new vehicle they were going to buy, and they didn't understand. They thought they were being charged an additional $500, but you could see through the paperwork, since they wrote it down, that that's not what was happening. But this here is exactly what you're saying, Commissioner Galvin, which is telling someone that they have to pay a non-refundable deposit, not putting it in writing to prove it, and then holding it when the sale doesn't occur. We see it a lot. So if we want to, so I really defer to you all. I suggested a letter of instruction on this one at this case, since I do run into this a lot. Seems to be a pretty common business practice, maybe trying to use letters to inform different dealers of the necessity of, even on that front end, before you've had a sale, you could still build a record then. I think sometimes they don't think to bust out paperwork until a sale is starting, but I agree with you. I think there is an element of false, fraudulent, deceptive activity here. So I think we could go either approach, whichever this commission thinks might be better for the industry.
If he's done it once, you figure he's done it twice or more. I mean, until we narrow down and do something about it, I mean, he'll stop. I mean, I would like to request a $500 fine on that and open up to the...
I'd be okay with
that. Is there any more? Any other?
I'm good. That's
Good. Okay, there being, how about you, Commissioner Roberts? You okay? Okay. All right, with that said and done, I'm just going to run through right quick. Number 33, the staff will bring back number 33 at a later date for us to discuss. Number 4, we recommended a $500 fine on case number 4. In case number 20, the staff will bring that back to us with the explanation put it into litigation. In case number 58, there were to add a fine of $500. Okay? So with that said and done, do we have a motion to adopt the legal report subject to the approval of the full commission?
a motion to adopt.
Second.
Second. A motion to adopt and second. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you, members of the commission, as always.
Okay. Well, it's showing 9 o'clock.
Okay. At 9 o'clock, we have a Rules Committee meeting that will be chaired.
2019. I got the date right. I'm so excited. On our committee is our commissioners Lee, Fox, myself, Farrah Vaughn, and Chairman Eddie Roberts. Absent today would be Karin White and John Murray. So we're going to get started. Actually, I'll go ahead and just turn it over to the director. What? Sarah, are you going to...
Ready to go with it?
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks, Sarah.
Members of the commission, I brought back those 2 sets of rules we looked at last time. We had some small tweaks we wanted to look at before we had a bigger discussion about the necessity for some of them. So going through the first change, I added, I think, the it's the same, that number 5 there about what we want as far as contact information remains the same as we saw last time, with the addition of that last sentence, which makes it an option to also provide a fax number. From my legal opinion, I don't think that is absolutely necessary, but because I don't think we should mandate it, I don't think a lot of people, I think fax is falling out of favor. What's up?
I skipped 2 steps. I need to interrupt you real quick. We need to
Adopt the
have a
agenda.
motion
It's my fault.
to adopt the agenda.
The better half over here is
I just looked down too. So.
I make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. And we also need a motion to approve the minutes from our October 15th, 2018 meeting.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Okay, now go ahead. Thank you. Sorry about that.
So the intent of this last sentence was to, if you have a fax, to mandate you give us the fax number, but not to require you have a fax. So that was why I have, if applicable, they shall. So that was what I was trying to find a balance with. So if you like that, fantastic. Any suggestions? Obviously, always open to suggestions and changes. And on the second change is to kind of put them both on the floor for you since they're small, so this committee can have the discussion. This is where we're trying, there was a suggestion that we look at the idea that we require the sealing of doors between adjoining businesses. The intent of this being to protect consumer information if there are employees from other businesses and or even consumers just going back and forth. Obviously, as in the profession, you understand the sensitive documents that are maintained inside a dealership. I modified this language to add from when you've seen it before, where it's they shall be secured and locked from the interior. That was what we saw before, but the second sentence again is the addition. Doors conjoining the businesses shall only be utilized by employees of the businesses and not be accessible to or utilized by members of the public. So that was the clarification that we added. Obviously, I think just kind of to give a little bit of from the disciplinary side, there's a little bit of concern here as far as enforcement and how we really would be able to tell if this was happening, if we ever had a complaint. Just kind of envisioning it if it came to my desk of, someone's information was stolen, but they're saying, oh, it was, the insurance company next door or something like that. How would I know a dealer was following this rule? It would be difficult. It would be because they could just lock it because they know we're coming and you just lock the door and I would never be the wiser. None of us would. But this does address that issue of making sure that for no reason at least we're saying we do not want this to be a public door. So those are the changes based on what we talked about last time. So if the committee would like to discuss the necessity of these changes or what you think, I think that might be the next best step. I did set these up so that if you wanted to adopt as the full board today, you can. I know we have not really had a flushed out discussion on the doors. I think is kind of the more significant change to the rule.
Madam Chairman, I just clarify that what passes today would then be presented in the full commission meeting immediately following this meeting.
I definitely like the way it's worded. I think that was a little better explanation than what we had before, so I think the intent from our meeting in October was definitely met. Any discussion or?
Second.
Point of clarification, is that for both rules or for one of the rules? Just for both.
Both rules. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Both are approved.
That will go.
Most definitely go, and those will both go before the full commission.
Bill of adoption.
Yes.
Okay.
We have a form to discuss as well.
The form? Oh, yes.
Yes.
So one of the other things that we've had extensive conversation about is when we have our salespeople come back up for us or people that we've denied for sales licenses, what do we want to see when they return? And I think one of the things that's important to this commission that we've discussed is the participation of a dealer representative or somebody to confirm, one, that those individuals are still employed with that dealership at the time that they are requesting this body approve the license, and two, the fitness of that individual and what oversight or confidence that dealer has in the individual being employed with them. one of the things we had discussed was the possibility of adding a rule. I've been working with Jason on it, and we believe this could be handled actually just on the form we already have. So we believe that adding a box, which this will go to all the things we discussed last time, which is having the dealer attest that they will update us immediately, and it is their responsibility. It would be their violation to not let us know if that person was still unemployed by the time the appeal came to be. If they, for any reason, terminated that for any reason, they would need to notify us immediately. It would also ask whether they intend to attend the meeting, and if not, it would ask them to provide a notarized statement going through why they believe this individual should be licensed and what the dealership hopes would be the relationship between that salesperson and that dealer. We are working on getting that finalized. That form has become a good resource, I think, for us as a body, but it is, as a result, is quite packed. So we're doing what we can to, Jason's doing magic to try to make it really clean and nice for you, honestly. He's very impressive on it. I don't know how I could have done it without going to another page, which is what we're trying to avoid, honestly. And so we have, I think it's on the iPad, a sample?
It is. It is. And it's just the proposed language under.
Yes, so if you look at the second page of that report, Jason has made it look really nice already and added in, you'll see on the right bottom side, sponsoring dealer representative signature. That's the new box that Paula, Jason, and I have gone back and forth on the wording of and came up with what you see here. And then we also added the where this form now has to be notarized, which was a good idea from the commission. We did not have that prior. So any suggestions you have we're open for, and we'll make sure to bring this back to you how you like it.
Discussion, the committee. Yep, I think it looks great, honestly. I mean, it's plain and simple, it's easy.
Thought this might be a less drastic change than doing a full rulemaking, and hopefully accomplish the same goal. So that was a good
Thank you for
idea
that.
on Jason, I'd say, and Paula.
Okay.
Taken great steps in already creating this form earlier, so it rather than having to go to great lengths and degree, the commission passed the original draft of this form, about a year ago. So it's been in use for a while, so it was an easy change.
Do you have any new business that we need to go over?
Madam Chairman.
Anything to discuss? Do you need to vote on the form, or?
If you'd like to make any sort, the committee is always welcome to make a formal motion for a recommendation, or we can carry it on and discuss it at the meeting. Either way. So if you'd like to do it as a motion to recommend the form's passage to the full body, that's a formal way to do that if you'd like to.
I'll make a motion that we amend that to pass it on to the full body.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. I think that.
That
Concludes our agenda items for the Rules Committee.
Have a motion to adjourn? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. Thank you.
Attendance, those in the audience, and the commission members as well. Ms. Shaw, would you have the roll call vote? Roll call, please, ma'am.
Chairman Roberts.
Here.
Commissioner Lee.
Here.
Commissioner Galvin.
Here.
Commissioner West.
Here.
Commissioner Fox.
Here.
Commissioner Kramer.
Here.
Commissioner Jackson.
Here.
Commissioner Melton. Commissioner Murray. Commissioner Norton.
Here.
Commissioner Vaughn. Here. Commissioner Tomaso. Commissioner Levy. Commissioner White. Commissioner Evans.
Here.
Commissioner Barker.
Here.
Commissioner Tribanian.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum. I would like to note that due to the schedule change for the January meeting, some of the commission members have notified us. They had pre-planned travel that they could not change. So that did cause a conflict in some of the, at no fault to them, why they could not attend today.
Was the meeting notice published?
This meeting's date, time, and location have been noticed on the Tennessee Motor Vehicle Commission website included as part of this year's meeting calendar since October 15, 2018. Additionally, the agenda for this month's meeting has been posted on the Tennessee Motor Vehicle Commission's website since January 9, 2019. This meeting has also been noticed on the tn.gov website.
If the commission would look at the proposed agenda for today's meeting and see if we need to make changes or if you want to approve it.
Commissioner Jackson, motion to adopt the agenda.
Adopt. Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Barker. Any discussion? Hearing none, chair calls for a voice vote. Those for the motion to adopt the agenda say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. If you would look at the minutes from the October 15th, 2018 quarterly commission meeting, also look for any changes that might need to be made or an approval as they're written.
Vaughn, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the minutes.
Second.
Okay. Commissioner Vaughn moves for adoption and second by Commissioner Galvin. Any discussion? Hearing none, chair calls for a voice vote on the motion. Those for the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. Before we move, anything else before we move into the agenda? Okay. Before we move into the agenda, we have some folks that are regular in attendance here. We're always glad to see them, but some have changed their careers a little bit. So I wanted to recognize a few folks. First would be Ms. Phyllis Sarton, who is the chief editor of the Tennessee Dealer News. Ms. Sarton, would you like to come up and tell us what Tennessee Dealer News does, very briefly?
First of all, Eddie, thank you for the kind introduction. And Jim, thank you for your advice and your help earlier this month. And thank you all for giving me just a moment of your time. You folks probably remember me about a year ago standing before you as the executive director of the TNIADA. And I have left that position and have assumed ownership of the Tennessee Dealer News magazine. It's a bi-monthly publication, and also the two websites that come along with it. Tennessee Dealer News has been around since 2007 and has a subscription base of over 3,000 plus dealers in the state of Tennessee. So we've been getting a lot of great support from the auto auctions here in Tennessee, and as well as the automotive related advertisers as well. So I would just simply like to say that we will be needing some information from the commission, and any help from you all would be greatly appreciated as we move forward. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Thanks.
And from the TNIDA, the executive director would be Mr. Carly White. Is that right, sir? Yes. Okay. Can you stand up? Thank you, sir. Would you like to say hello or anything? I've never met an executive director that didn't want to say something.
Well, I was just trying to be quiet.
Right.
My name's Carly White, and I was appointed the executive director of the TNIDA about at the end of November. It's been a long time coming. I've worked at a lot of dealerships. I had a pre-law background, so it's kind of been put together for me. I don't hold that pre-law against me, but we're going to be needing a lot of help as well. But we got some big plans for the state and how we can conjoin everything together to make the association what it's supposed to be. Because honestly, when you look around the southeast at the associations that are there, we've got a lot of work to do. So, but I got my work boots on. I'm ready to go. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think that Mr. Jim Cameron from the Cameron Whirley Law Firm has a new associate. Mr. Cameron, would you like to identify and introduce this gentleman?
Thank you, Chairman Roberts. As many of you know, we specialize in representing automotive, truck, and motorcycle dealers across the state. And as I get a little bit longer in the tooth, I need to bring someone along that's going to help me pass the baton, and that person is J.D. Mason here with me. J.D. is a graduate of the Penn State University, where he played football for Joe Paterno for 4 years, graduate of the University of Pittsburgh Law School, and we got him down here to Middle Tennessee, and he has married a young lady from Franklin, whose father happens to be a judge down in Williamson County, and we believe J.D. is going to hang around. So I'd like for you all to meet him. You'll be seeing a lot of J.D. over time. Thank you.
Jason, welcome. Would you like to say just a brief word?
Yeah, I just appreciate meeting everyone here today. I know I've met and worked with a good amount of you here so far, and I just look forward to building relationships. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody omitted that wishes to be identified? Okay. Before we move into the regular agenda, I wanted to make note a couple of things and do a little bit of a presentation. But at our last meeting, we were informed by our executive director, Paula Shaw, that she had been selected to be part of an internet sales working panel, a nationwide panel, for the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators. This will be no small task, I don't think, since the internet is constantly changing, a brave new world. But that's quite a task to take on, and she's well qualified. We appreciate her doing that. Secondly, and the beat goes on, we know that when we hired Paula a few years ago that she would be excellent in her job. I've known Paula for 30 or 35 years. She's done well at every position that she's done. And her performance metrics with the department are superb. So we knew how good she was, and now others know, because she's been elected. I believe it started in September, but she's been elected as president of the National Association of Motor Vehicle Boards and Commissions. We're very proud of Paula. We have a plaque that we'd like to give to you. All of the plaque says, presented in recognition to Paula J. Shaw for exemplary dedication and leadership of Tennessee Motor Vehicle Commission and election as president of the National Association of Motor Vehicle Boards and Commissions.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome to comment.
I'm humbled. I love the field and love the commission and the people that I work with.
Thank you so much. For the record, please note Ms. Shaw received a standing ovation before and after a brief speech. We look forward to continuing to work with Ms. Shaw. Okay. We're going to move into our salespersons and dealer appeals.
Mr. Chairman.
First person will be Clinton. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to note in the record that Commissioner Tommaso had joined us at 9:34, so it helps us to keep the minutes clear.
It does. I meant to do that, and I got carried away with the event. So welcome back.
I had to park in Clarksville.
Welcome back. Welcome.
We feel your pain every day.
Okay. All right, so the appeals, Clinton Waller, Ford of Cookeville, Tennessee. Come on up, sir.
Morning, members of the commission. Just for the commission and also for all of our attendees to kind of just briefly how this process works. As you can see, Chairman Roberts will call up each individual salesperson. I will read a brief memorandum that just goes over what the charges were, and then we go through a Fresh Start analysis. The Fresh Start Act was passed last year with the effort of having each board and commission determine the fitness of each applicant before them that may have a criminal background to determine whether licensure is appropriate, and it lays out certain factors. These memorandums go through those factors for this commission's consideration and does not tell this commission what to do, but rather gives them a recommendation for their consideration. So if you don't mind, Mr. Waller, I'm going to read it really briefly, and then I'll let Eddie turn it over for you. Mr. Waller applied with us, but has a Class E felony for theft over $500. The last date of release, probation, or parole was August of 2016. Theft over $500 is considered a crime of moral turpitude in Tennessee. And because the 5 years have not passed, legal is informing this commission that they do have the discretion to deny if they so choose after reviewing the Fresh Start analysis steps.
Mr. Waller, we'll go through the same exercise for each one of the folks that appeal, but would you tell us a little about how you got to this point? We're not here to judge anyone's innocence or guilt. That's already been done. That's behind us. So we'd like to know what we're going to do going forward.
Absolutely. First, I would like to say thank you for this opportunity. Second, I had a friend since I was in grade school, 11-year-old. I bought 10 case double X knives off of this fella, and turned out they were stolen. I pawned them. I did not know they were stolen. I didn't tell on a long-term friend. I didn't know the ramifications it would have in my future. I didn't know I'd have this opportunity, but I have no intent on defrauding you or anyone else. I just really appreciate a chance to better take care of my family.
I think it would be fair to say that going to a pawn shop, taking merchandise is generally due to a desperate financial situation.
Yes, sir.
Is there a financial situation behind this?
Yes, sir. I had lost my employment because I intended on keeping the knives. I was going to go back and get them. That's why I pawned them. But I was called by the pawn shop owner stating that they were, in fact, being reported stolen. Police had came and got them. I got charged for it, and I didn't tell where I got them. That's what I'm guilty of.
Questions for Mr. Waller from the commission?
Commissioner Vaughn, I've got a few questions. Is this the first time you were in trouble?
No, ma'am.
Was it similar issues?
Trouble's trouble, right? No, caught a domestic when I was 21 against my ex-wife.
What about since this incident?
Oh, no, absolutely.
Okay.
I have a speeding ticket. I've completed everything that was asked of me.
Did you make restitution?
Paid, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Question, Commissioner Lee.
Commissioner Lee.
On the application, it says you've not had any rehabilitation. Have you done anything to? None whatsoever.
Got started, went back to church. Other than that, I mean, I don't know. I don't have any thoughts of taking anything that's not mine or anything like that, so I'm not sure exactly what rehabilitation I can do for that, if that makes any sense to the commission.
How did you find your way to the car business?
I have a close friend that is also a salesperson at Ford of Cookeville. He got my foot in the door. I love it. I think it's an amazing industry. I wish I'd have found it when I was 18 years old instead of 37. We might not even be in this situation.
What kind of work did you do when you lost your job? What were you doing?
I was with the tree service. I cut above tree service. We did paver, driveways, swimming pools, just outside work.
How'd you lose that job?
I left. My wife had got pregnant, and it was a high-risk pregnancy. She had almost lost a child, so I had some little money from while I had it. I stayed home to take care of her and watch my other children. because I could not afford daycare at the time. So it worked for the time being.
You bring a sponsor with you? Or?
Yes, sir, I did. Mr. Ray Moyer. I also.
Sir, would you like to address the commission?
Chairman, Commissioners, how do you do? I'm Ray Moyer. I'm one of the sales managers of Port of Cookeville, and I certainly come to speak on behalf of Clint. So initially when he was hired to be a salesperson, we didn't know he would be denied his salesperson's license. We informed him at that time that was the case, that he was denied, and we thought highly of him enough to give him a position at the dealership, which he has since been employed since that time. Urgently, I have come to know Clint as a father, as a friend. Testimonial from the managing partner, from every sales manager at the dealership. Vouch for Clint to say the type of person and the type of employee that we expect him. Had some issues in the past, but ever since that I have known the man, he has been nothing but a quality employee and a quality human being. So I ask the commissioner and all of you to please reinstate his license so we may have
Mr. Moyer. Any questions for Mr. Moyer from the commission?
Commissioner Galvin, how long has Clint worked with you?
approximately 1 year.
1 year.
Thank you, gentlemen and miss.
Commissioner Jackson, I think you had something you wanted. Is that a document you wanted us to review?
This is just signatures and a letter of recommendation from the other.
Start on this end, please, sir. We'll take a look.
Commissioner Vaughn, I have a question for the gentleman you brought with you. Would you mind coming back up?
Moyer, yes.
Mr. Moyer, you will be his supervisor? Yes. Has he been upfront and honest with you about his past issues?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Discussion or comments from the commission for this this appeal?
I'd make a motion that we approve once everyone has a chance to review the letter.
Motion to grant the license application or approve the license application.
Thank y'all very much.
We're not quite done. But your manners are very good. That's all.
I've been waiting to hear that for a minute.
Yes,
It's called the assumptive close.
right, let's see. Who was second? Ronnie Fox made the motion. Commissioner Barker made the motion, and Commissioner Fox seconded. Any discussion of the motion? Hearing no discussion of the motion, the chair calls for a roll call vote. Yes would be for the motion to grant the license, and no, of course, would be to not grant.
Commissioner West?
Yes.
Commissioner Tribanian?
Yes.
Commissioner Lee?
Yes.
Commissioner Barker?
Yes.
Commissioner Fox?
Yes.
Commissioner Galvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Norton?
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn? Yes. Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Tomaso?
Yes.
Chairman Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Outstanding. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Good luck. Christy Walker. And you're applying to represent American Car Center of Knoxville. Okay. You want to tell us a little about how you got to this point?
Well, thank you for allowing me to come to Nashville today to tell you my story in person. I did a lot of documentation previously with my appeal letter, so I don't know if anyone has copies of it in front of you, but it's a long 4-year process that I've been going through. I own 2 medical practices in Union County and Knox County. And to make a long story short, I got caught up in a small county political battle with some of the residents there that didn't think that we had needed as many small county medical practices in Union County. And they decided to make it out to be that we were running a illegal pill mill in that county, which we were not. We proved to the state of Tennessee that we were not. One of our nurse practitioners was fresh out of school. She got nervous after we went through our initial investigation with the state health department, and she made accusations to the county that we were illegally using her DEA number to get testosterone vials from our local pharmacy for office use. The state TBI came in, did not do a very good investigation, never once talked to any of myself or my partners at the time to understand exactly how pharmacies and medical practices retrieve office use testosterone, which is a controlled substance. It's a standard practice that all medical practices use. When you order from a pharmacy, the pharmacists, they choose which provider's name they fill that prescription under, and then they send it to the back to the practice for office use. So I was not the one who ordered the testosterone through the pharmacy. Occasionally I would be the one to go and pick it up. It was whoever was available at the time. We had other suppliers that we got it from as well. So the pharmacy chose, again, which provider was working in our clinic to put it under. That was just how the whole process worked. The other providers in the county did the exact same thing. So falling under a political battle, they took charges out against me being the owner of the clinic. I was not a provider, a medical provider. I was the clinic owner. That being said, they wanted to close our practice down in Union County, which I had previously done. I merged it with my clinic in Knox County. So the facts around the accusations were never investigated. They acted upon it, had a political statement in the news, which was enough to damage my reputation after everything I'd done for that county. And it caused me, in the long term, after 2 years, to close that practice in Knox County due to legal fees. They cost me over $40,000 in legal fees to try to clear up the inconsistencies that they didn't understand. So I ended up closing that practice. I lost my house, my cars, my trust in the legal system, and I was trying to restart my life over accusations that were not true. I finally had to take a plea deal with the state because I ran out of money. I tried to fight it. My attorney tried to fight it, and they did not want to admit that they made mistakes. So I could have continued to fight it after 3 years but I did not have any more means of financial stability to pay another $25,000, $30,000 to take it to court and actually tell my side of the story in a courtroom. So back in June of 2018, it was really hard, but I finally, to get it past me and move on with my life, took that plea deal, even though I wasn't guilty of it, just to get it behind me and move on, which is what I did. In the meantime, I was doing marketing and advertising for several car dealers in Knoxville, and never sold cars before. It was totally out of my realm. I'd been in the medical field for 25 years. But I came across an opportunity to come to work to an American Car Center in Knoxville. And I was hesitant at first because I'd never sold cars. But I needed a fresh start. And I thought I had put all of this behind me. So, and I had an opportunity to get my benefits. I'd lost my health insurance and retirement, any kind of benefit that I had through the businesses that I had worked so hard to build. So I took the opportunity to do sales at American Car Center. This was in August, a couple months after we finalized my plea bargain. That was a way for me to finally restart my life and try to come out of the financial ruins that they had put me through. And I was excelling, actually, at American Car Center. I never sold cars before. I knew nothing about the auto industry as far as the sales side of it. And August, I sold 11 cars in 2 weeks, my first 2 weeks there. September, I was the leading salesperson in Knoxville. I sold 13. And in October, I was up to 15. Again, I was the top seller in Knoxville. And my appeal, or my first application was denied because I didn't understand how the process worked. It was recently after my court case was completed, and when I filled out the application, I was unsure about how I was to answer some of the questions, and marked.
Ma'am, you're speaking of the application for
The sales license, yes.
Sales license, all right.
Yes, sorry, yes.
And it was denied based on the previous felony conviction.
I marked no on the first application because I was unsure how that process works. So when it asked if I had any prior convictions, I marked no because I didn't have any kind of paperwork, and it was so new. My understanding, it hadn't even gone through the system yet, so I didn't mark anything on there because I had nothing to attach to it. And this was all new to me, so I wasn't trying to.
Something you didn't understand. Excuse me. Is there something you didn't understand about the form because
It's all new to me. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
But my point is, we're hearing a lot of detail about what happened. It's most unfortunate, but then the detail about do you have a previous conviction? That one confused you.
Well, and as far as in my mindset, it didn't have anything to do with selling cars, and that's what I was taking upon the question asking: had I had anything to do with selling cars convicted? So I had no paperwork of any from the court yet. This was all brand new. It just fell right in place. So I marked no.
Did you bring any letters of recommendation, or is there anything from American Car Company, American Car Center?
It's attached in here.
I'm sorry?
It's attached in the file.
Sorry.
And that was the first application. When we got the first denial, my manager at the time, he went back through and explained what they were looking for. I got copies of everything. We attached everything, sent it back in for the second application.
Did anyone come with you from American Car Center?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, sir.
Commissioner Jackson, before you ask him a question, I got a question for you. I want to make sure I understand. When you said the first application you filled out, had you received any information from the court as to had you been convicted at that time?
I did not have any of the final documents at all at that point.
So is that one of the reasons why when it asked you had you been convicted of a felony, did you put anything there on that first application?
No, I didn't list anything, or because I had nothing. I didn't know what the final everything was at that time, and I had no documentation, copies of anything at all.
I'm just trying to understand and make sure that if you wasn't aware that you had been convicted and had a felony, that's why you didn't put anything else on that first application from the Motor Vehicle Commission.
Right.
Okay. Thank you, Chairman Roberts.
Thank you.
Commissioner Galvin, could I have Sarah read the opening statement on this case, because I think we missed it from the very beginning.
Sure.
And that just will help us.
Sure. This application was denied based on 2 Class C felonies. That was attempted identity theft and attempted prescription fraud. And to kind of help clarify the question, those charges were entered by the court in June 25th of 2018. So that was when those were formally entered as a judgment with the court. Those both are considered crimes of moral turpitude, and under the Fresh Start Act analysis, this board does have discretion, after considering those factors, to deny if they so choose.
Other questions for the applicant?
Well, I got a question from the attorney, Commissioner Jackson. You mentioned it was June 25th, the document that you had showed that the court had made a ruling. What date did she apply for her application?
I can, do you mind having some, I don't know if I have that. Oh yeah, it's in there. Turn that over to my application expert. October 8th, 2018.
October 8th, when she applied for the first application for the license. And conviction was June 25th?
That was the second.
The second one. Second one.
So the first one would have come sooner than October at least, so. I can.
Early August.
Makes sense. Walker, did you appear at our October meeting?
No.
Okay.
We didn't get the letter until after that, so they had to terminate me, and I had to wait until now.
This Commissioner Jackson again. I'm trying to make sure that I'm getting the facts right. She got her final conviction of the incident on June the 25th, 2018, and she applied for the first license application in October.
In August.
In August.
But it wasn't correct because it was marked no. And so there was a new application submitted in October.
Okay.
That was correct with all of the information you see on your iPads.
So that being said, she must have to be aware of her conviction before she applied, because it was August, you say, when she applied for the first one, and then October the second one?
I don't want to say that I know what she knows, but the formal entering of the judgment was June 28th. That would have been signed off by both attorneys, and it would have been entered in a formal hearing. If a plea was entered, then you would have to go before the judge and attest to certain things, that you understand what you're pleading to. So it's a pretty intensive process.
Can I say I wasn't saying that I did not know what my charges were, that it wasn't settled in June. My understanding when I was filling out the application was, did it pertain to the auto industry, any kind of auto industry charges? That was what I was trying to explain.
Okay.
Could we hear the specific language of the question?
Absolutely. Of the question on the application?
It reads, have you ever been convicted of a crime, pled nolo contendere to a crime, or been convicted of a felony? Yes or no?
Would your representative from American Car Center like to address the commission, sir, regarding this application?
Chairman Roberts, members of the commission. My name is David Norton. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of American Car Center. I'm directly responsible for 290 salespeople in 45 locations across 7 states. We do have 12 locations here in the state of Tennessee, and I've had the opportunity to work with Director Shaw and her staff on several things, but have not had an opportunity to address the commission, so I appreciate you allowing me to do so. I believe in Christie's case, what has happened is that we hired her really towards the tail end of July. And in the process of getting the initial paperwork done with our Human Resources Department, which is centralized in Memphis, that's when the first application for her motor vehicle license came into play. I can tell you from reading the decision from the second application that we submitted that was correct with all the correct information in October, we had a very lengthy discussion internally at a management level as well as with our staff in Knoxville, particularly since it brought up the conviction of fraud, which I think we can all agree is something that doesn't need to be taken lightly in any type of retail installment contract environment or lease contract environment. But the circumstances surrounding it and the internal controls that we have into place, and then watching this individual with our customers overcome an emotional tragedy, and I think that we all can agree that we understood the emotion in her testimony earlier, we felt that it would be prudent to give her a second chance. With our internal controls in place, with the staff that we have, with our management, with our model, there's no worry on our end about any type of fraud taking place at an employee level. And also, we wanted to give the individual an opportunity to fresh start, make a new living, in something that she does have great people skills. Our customers who have leased cars from her love her. And there's testimonies, I believe, on our website where they've given her a pretty glowing Google review. So our standpoint from a corporate standpoint, again, is that we want individuals within our organization, number one, that have great people skills and take care of our customers. And number two, we want individuals to know that they work for a company that is less concerned about what they have done and more concerned about who they can be and what they can do. And so I would just ask for some discretion from the commission in regards to that.
Questions for Mr. Norton from the commission?
Thank you so much.
Discussion?
I'd like to ask Ms. Walker a few more questions. Have you had any issues since this conviction? Okay. And I'm speaking for myself, not for everyone on the commission, but my concern would only be that you make yourself familiar with the laws of the state of Tennessee and how it works in order to protect the consumers and yourself as well. Because to me, that's when you sign that form, you're saying that you do understand it. So that's my number one concern. I do feel more comfortable knowing that it sounds like you would be well supervised. So that part does make me feel a lot more comfortable.
If I may, Commissioner Long, all of our employees go through very specific.
That was my concern of signing the form and not having understood it.
And Commissioner Jackson, in order for myself to make a decision on any case, I really rely on truth. I mean, on that. And I've still got some hesitant because I had asked, and I really don't want to badger you, but I had asked about, did you know about your conviction prior to filling the application out? And you said no. But then, according to the staff, that was brought up on the 28th of June, and then your application wasn't filled out till second was filled out in October. So, not saying that you might have got confused, but it's hard for me to believe that you was not aware of your conviction prior to filling out your first application. And that was the reason why I asked that question, so I can have some clarity, because I can understand this your first time in the car business, and you might have got confused about the application relating to selling cars. I can accept that. But when I asked, did you know about your conviction prior to filling out that application, you said no. And I'm still struggling with that. But I've been going over some of your recommendation in there. I'm reading that, so I just caution anyone, if you come before this commission, please be honest and straightforward, because that's how I make my decision on the cases that and I'm not here to lecture anyone, but I'm just letting you know that's how I make my decision, personally make my decision, based on honesty and when I ask questions. And so with that said, I'm going to continue to look. And
I do have a letter from my direct supervisor in Knoxville. I'm not sure if you all have.
We'll hand it to Commissioner Tomaso, the one on the end, the gentleman on the end, please. I agree with Chairman Jackson's concerns and comments. Norton, what type of dealership is American Car Center? Is it it's pre-owned? It's pre-owned, I guess.
Yes, sir. We are an independent used car dealership. Primarily, we have a buy here, pay here model, but we are a lease here, pay here operation. We're actually probably one of the largest totally lease here, pay here operations in the country. Our owner started the business in 1999, and he's been a dealer licensed with the state of Tennessee since. We have recently grown. In the last 4 years, I've opened 40 locations throughout the Southeast. I'm kind of new to the whole commission process, so forgive me. This is the first time that we've had a couple of individuals whose initial applications have been denied by the Motor Vehicle Commission. So I am here representing 2 more of our employees. But to answer your question, we have a related finance company. Everything is centralized in Memphis. My corporate offices are in Memphis. And at the store level, it is a very lean model. We have 3 to 4 salespeople, a general sales manager, an assistant manager, and a finance representative. And that's pretty much all we have at our locations.
Who is responsible for your documentation there? And
for the documentation there, it primarily falls upon the sales manager in conjunction with our centralized human resources department. Since the initial application was denied because it was deemed to be incorrect, we have put certain processes in place internally to make sure that in the state of Tennessee that the application for their license is fully explained, not only by human resources doing the onboarding process, but also by the local sales manager, if you will. So I did not deliver the initial application, so I can't speak to how it was given to the employee. I can just tell you what we put in place moving forward to hopefully eliminate any confusion as to what specifically needs to be on the document, including any additional documentation necessary.
Or at the Knoxville location?
Yes, sir.
And do you sometimes buy out another dealer, or do you start from scratch, so to speak?
It varies. Very rarely do we have bought out in other states individuals that were wanting to exit the space. Primarily in the state of Tennessee, it's just been me and my car driving around for a couple days trying to find a good location that I felt like would be affordable and that we could provide a service to the individuals that we represent. Being a lease here, pay here model, our customers can't find financing in traditional means. So it's kind of the subprime, if you will. But in our model also, where can you find a 2 to 3 year old car with 40 to 50,000 miles on it, and you have pretty tarnished credit that someone would take a chance on you for $500 down? And so of the thousands and thousands of vehicles that we did deliver last year, we can only make that service to our customers if we have salespeople and individuals that can befriend those customers. I think in this business, if you don't like who you're buying from, you're not going to buy. And the one thing about Ms. Walker that she has done a very good job of from a salesperson perspective is the people aspect, the understanding of the customer, showing empathy to individuals who have had bad decisions in the past and bad credit circumstances in the past, and how we don't hold those against them.
Mr. Norton, could you mentioned you put some measures in place related to the application being filled out by the employee through HR. Could you be specific, and specifically to that question that's being considered here today?
Yes, sir. So in the onboarding process previously, and let me back up for a second. When I joined the company in 2014, we had 47 employees, and we now have approximately 642. So as you can imagine, our human resources department, in a nutshell, is stressed. So in opening so many stores, there was no process on the onboarding. It was, here's the paperwork, fill it out, and send it into Memphis. And what we've done, and stop, here's the paperwork necessary for employment with American Car Center, and specific explanations about how that's filled out from your W-9, employment information, emergency contacts. Step 2, here's the pertinent information that is required in the state of Tennessee for licensing with the Motor Vehicle Commission. Here's the form. Here's what this means. Here's the steps that you take. You sign here. I need a copy of your driver's license. Here's a motor vehicle report that we have to run internally for insurance purposes. So we have laid it out from a human resources perspective to where the documents are gone over step by step in detail with our staff versus just handing a stack of papers and saying, send this back to Memphis when you're done.
Sir, when were those policies in place?
Well, shortly after the August incident when this came back. It is not perfected, and will I tell you that we fail in instances? Failure might be an incorrect word, but we do fall short. We are constantly working to improve on that. But these specifics with the hiring of an additional HR person occurred towards the, if I wanted to ballpark without being specific, if I may, towards the end of September.
Discussion points. Thank you, sir.
I have reservations in doing so, but I'll make a motion that we give Christie a fresh start.
Second, Commissioner Vaughn.
By Commissioner Fox to grant a license, and seconded by Commissioner Vaughn. Discussion of the motion.
Commissioner Jackson, I've just heard what the dealership general manager just said about putting things in place. And I just want to say that because that has helped me in making a decision regarding this case, and I really appreciate that.
Comments on the motion? Chair calls for a roll call vote. Yes will be for the motion that would grant the license, and no would be to deny.
Commissioner West?
Yes.
Commissioner Trevanian?
No.
Commissioner Lee?
No.
Commissioner Barker?
Yes.
Commissioner Fox?
Yes.
Commissioner Galvin?
No.
Commissioner Norton?
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Tomaso?
Yes.
Chairman Roberts?
Oh.
Motion carries.
Carries. Be granted a license. Good luck with your career. Mark C. Sawyer, Tar Chevrolet Company, Jefferson City.
Members of the Commission, Mr. Sawyer applied with us and reported a past felony for conspiracy to defraud the United States. The last release date that I was able to find was August of 2018, meaning that we are within our 5 years under the statute. I did include on the third page just an excerpt of what I was able to find about that allegation, but obviously Mr. Sawyer is here as well to speak to you. But under Fresh Start, this would be considered a crime of moral turpitude, so this commission has the discretion to choose to deny the license if they would like.
Good morning. I'm Mark Sawyer. Good morning, Chairman, Commissioner.
A little bit.
Sorry?
Tell us a little bit about your circumstances.
Yes. I'm a lifelong resident of East Tennessee, and I got my real estate license in 1978. So I engaged myself in business with a small company to redevelop an industrial site which just happened to be in the neighborhood which I grew up in. After 2 years of being in the business with these folks, the contract expired and went to a option to purchase the real estate. I purchased a large industrial site in 2008 in October. The rest of the company left, but I stayed on. I was indicted in 2011 and made the primary responsible party for 70 years of historic contamination. This charge ended, the activity that was charged for ended in July of 2008. Indicted in 2011. I pled guilty after 30 months of the weight of the United States government. I'm guilty because there is definitely strict liability in environmental regulation. This was an asbestos-related case during demolition of partial of a 300-acre site. I was convicted. I pled guilty, so that's a conviction. I received a 5-year sentence. I finished that. I have a $10.5 million restitution. It's a tough thing to swallow. I work at Home Depot. I pay 10% of my net. I've paid as much as 25%, and I'm appreciative of the opportunity to be able to get a job that I can participate in. My family have a child at UT and a child at Ole Miss, and I've been out of their life for some time. But it is an environment. What the nice lady said was nature. The nature of the fence was written by the Department of Justice, which I had no play in that after the plea agreement. It was a violation of the Clean Air Act of 1990, which is quite voluminous. My case was 27,000 pages. It's, from my perspective, indefensible, and I've accepted responsibility, and here I am.
Was the felony conviction? I'm just trying to understand what the transaction was like. Was it due to the transaction of transferring contaminated land to the federal government, or was it for the act of contaminating the site yourself? How does that?
The specifics, Chairman, was regulating the use of personal protective equipment during the processes of demolition. That's in the long and the short of it. There are many rules for the United States EPA, and we didn't, as a group, as me being the financier and then eventually the owner of the 300 acres, I have the responsibility.
You allow or cause these contaminants to get into the land? Is that?
No, sir. It's historic. I did sign off. There were tractor trailer loads went to the landfill. Correct. I mean, with proper documentation. It's.
Understand. I'm not sure I've got it now.
I'm sorry.
I'm doing my best to understand.
Well, it's in a nutshell an environmental regulatory misstep.
What was there fraud in that you denied there were contaminants in there?
Oh, sir. There was loads of reporting responsibilities to the United States EPA. The part that I suppose becomes fraudulent is prior to me buying the property, there were unprotected employees. There was a trained group, but there were other people who performed services that were not trained and using proper personal protective gear.
This was in Jefferson City?
No, in Morristown, Hamlin County.
Okay, sir. All right. Are there? Dominate the time, but I was trying to get an understanding. Any questions for the commission member?
Commissioner Jackson, I'm like Chairman Roberts. Okay, you own 300 acres of land.
Yes, an industrial site.
Industrial site.
Yes, sir.
Was that land used to dump? Is that land to remove the contamination from it?
Sure.
Or was it used for you to bring it to the site? And those employees that was working for you, did you get charged for not having the proper gear, or you defraud the federal government that they didn't have the proper gear? I'm trying to.
No, sir. The refuse went to a landfill. This was maybe 1 million square feet of old 1950 industrial buildings. In my plea agreement, I left out, omitted where I was not charged. I did not plead guilty to disposal of anything improperly.
Sorry to interrupt, members
Yes.
of the commission. Maybe this might be
Sure.
able to help you. I have this case, fortunately, went up to a higher court, so I was able to pull the opinion from the Sixth Circuit, which, obviously they summarize the facts. So if it would help, I might just read the opening paragraph to see if it helps with the facts, because environmental law regulation is quite complex, as Mr. Sawyer talked about. In 2006, Mark Sawyer and 4 co-defendants formed A&E Salvage and purchased the salvage rights to a former industrial site in East Tennessee in order to demolish the buildings on site and obtain salvageable material. Despite the presence of large amounts of regulated asbestos-containing materials, A&E Salvage knowingly failed to comply with the national emissions standards for hazardous air pollutants for asbestos. The EPA eventually intervened and cleaned up the site pursuant to its power under CERCLA law at a total cost of over $16 million. And then there was a guilty plea entered. So it has to do with whether certain regulations were followed with the removal and disposal of asbestos materials, which can be everything from how it was disposed of to how the people disposing of it wore protective gear. So it's probably a range of that, as I think Mr. Sawyer's kind of addressing. So if that helps a little bit, Sixth Circuit, they know what they're doing, mostly.
I would like to make a motion that we approve the license based on the fact that I don't feel that this conviction puts the consumers of the state of Tennessee in jeopardy, and he has the right to a fresh start.
Second that.
Motion by Commissioner Ball. Discussion of the motion. Okay. Chair calls for roll call vote. Yes will be for the motion to grant, and no will be to uphold the denial. Director Shaw.
West,
Yes.
Commissioner Tribanian,
Yes.
Commissioner Lee,
Yes.
Commissioner Barker,
Yes.
Commissioner Fox,
Yes.
Commissioner Galvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Norton,
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer,
Yes.
Commissioner Evans,
Yes.
Commissioner Tomaso,
Yes.
Chairman Roberts. Motion carries.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate your
Good
consideration.
luck. Thank you, sir. Anyone need a break? You will? 5 minutes, please. The next application is Shondarius Cook
Yes.
from American Car Center. Morning, sir.
Members of the commission, this application was denied for Mr. Cook based on a B felony for attempted, especially aggravated robbery. Aggravated robbery is considered a crime of moral turpitude, and so this application is able to be denied by this commission if you so choose after reviewing the Fresh Start analysis.
Hey, Mr. Cook, tell us a little about your circumstances, who the victims might be, and what drove you to get to this point.
Okay, in 2008, I was involved in a situation with two older guys. They said that they house. I said, all right. We get there. They said that they wanted to rob them. Them guys being older, I was only 15, and I wanted to be cool, so I partaked in the situation. A guy I was with had a gun. He shot the lady. After he shot the lady, I got like ecstatic, and I just ran. I didn't know what to do. So
was this a pedestrian? Or did you say I couldn't hear part of that?
We were going to meet a guy at his house.
Okay.
And when we got there, he wasn't there. His mom was present, and a guy that I was with, the older guy, he shot his mom. So.
Shot your friend's mother.
Oh, shot the guy whose house we were going over, and after that I ran, and that was pretty much it. I blame myself for being the idiot to want to hang around older people, only being 15, and that's how I got here. So.
Mr. Cook?
When did you start working with American Car Center?
It was August.
Tell us a little bit about your time there.
Well, prior to there, I worked at Freeland of Dodge in Antioch, Tennessee, and I started off as just washing cars, doing the detail there, and the other salesmen there, they would come back there, and I would see like the thrill that they would have off of helping customers and being excited and stuff like that, and it also helped me learn different type of cars because, of course, I was washing them. And I told myself that I wanted to sell cars. That's something that I felt like I was passionate about and I wanted to do. A friend called, one of my mentors, he called, he said, hey, there's a great opportunity at American Car Center. You should check it out. I went to go fill out the application. The people there was nice. I felt like an instant bond there. And it was on from there.
Since you've been 15, any trouble since then that you've gotten into since you were 15 years old?
I was in 2016. I had violated my probation. I had got a noise complaint at my apartment, and the police came and asked, was there anything? I had a friend over, and he had like a little weed, and that was because I was with someone who had it. It violated my probation. But since 2016, I haven't been into anything. So.
Is there more than one location for American Car Center in Memphis?
Well, I'm actually in Nashville. Yeah.
Description says Memphis. I guess that's the home office.
Our corporate offices are in Memphis. We have 4
Yes, sir.
On Darius is we actually had a conversation with his sales manager, who is not here today, but she is at the store here in Nashville, specifically about being dumb and being 15 and wanting to fit in. And I think that in this particular instance, the desire to be cool turned into something that is a nightmare, if you will. An individual was injured. My employee took off running and was convicted was charged and convicted as an adult at 15 years old. Paid his debt to society and such. And I think going from 15 and then to 2 years ago, again, understanding that the people that you're surrounded with and you associate with, if they're not doing the right thing, you're not doing the right thing. And I think that was very clear in his probation violation that he had in 2016.
I have a question. You're not still currently associated with the people that committed these crimes?
Oh, no,
with
ma'am.
you?
No.
Another question. I guess having had this other issue of violating probation, what are you doing differently now to try to avoid these situations and kind of it happening again?
Being around more like-minded people who want to further their adventure in life, those who have positive energy. Also, I take like a life skills class, which I started being a student of, like learning about self-development, entrepreneurship. Now I actually speak in the class now, so it's every Wednesday from 3 to 4.
That's great. Thank you.
Questions?
I was trying to figure, did you serve time or just on probation?
I served time.
How much was, how long?
It was 26 months.
26 months?
Yeah, that was for when I was 15. Yeah.
Questions?
Only issue you've had so far was in 16, where you got a complaint about too much noise. Police showed up. That friend, I hope, are you still seeing that friend now?
Oh, no, of course not.
He had a little something in his pocket, and
yeah,
and that triggered your violation of your probation.
Yes, because I'm not allowed to be around that during.
Since that incident, have you had any problems since that incident? Commissioner Jackson, I motion that we grant him the license.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Jackson to grant the license, seconded by Commissioner Vaughn. Is there discussion of the motion? Chair hears none. Call for roll call vote. Yes for the motion and no against the motion. Director Shaw.
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Trevanian?
Yes.
Commissioner Lee?
Yes.
Commissioner Barker?
Yes.
Commissioner Fox?
Yes.
Commissioner Galvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Norton?
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Tomaso?
Yes.
Chairman Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Congratulations, Mr. Cook.
Thank you.
Good luck with your career. Stephen Miller. Mr. Miller. Morning, sir. Okay, we're going to hear from,
Mr. Norton has a full docket today.
we're going to hear from Ms. Page first, and then we'll hear from you.
Sure. This application was denied for Mr. Miller based on 3 prior felonies, 2B and 1D. Those were conspiracy to deliver Schedule 6 drugs, conspiracy to commit money laundering, and possession with intent to distribute Schedule 6 drugs. The latest date of probation or parole estimated expiration is 2030, so you're within your 5 years. And these crimes are considered crimes of moral turpitude, which opens up the door for this commission to deny the license if they so choose after reviewing the Fresh Start analysis.
3 felonies were
conspiracy to deliver Schedule 6 drugs, conspiracy to commit money laundering, and possession with intent to distribute the same Schedule 6 drugs.
Just tell us briefly how you got there, then I'll have a question about the money laundering, what that's all.
Well, the entire situation was surrounded around one person.
Mr. Miller, could you
Pull it,
speak in the
Mike.
mic, please?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we grew up right across the street from each other. So he had a little operation going on. Long story short, they picked up six or seven people that were known to associate with him. I did used to be with him a lot. He's my daughter's godfather. Like I said, we grew up together. They picked up all of us on the same date. They said it was in, I forget the exact term, but they had been watching him, so anybody they saw with him, around him, they charged all of us with the same exact charges. They got us in, they started questioning us about things he may do or may not do. It went on for like 2 years in and out of court. Once it got to the point to where I'm not really sure if he cooperated with him or they charged him with separate charges, but all the rest of us, they basically just offered us probation. At that point, it had went on for, like I said, almost 2 years, which is a lot of money for lawyers. My parents had to help out and started, cashing in 401ks. They offered us probation for it, and I was hesitant at first because my thought was, I don't want to have that on there if I wasn't guilty of doing those things. But they were explaining how it's like a 90-something% conviction rate, and if I was found guilty, I could do up to like 20 years in jail. So I took the probation.
Members of the commission, just to clarify, Schedule 6 would be marijuana or anything similar, just in case that helps with the...
What, again, was the fraud part of this?
Sorry?
You were convicted of fraud?
Money laundering.
Conspiracy, money. So basically, everything they were trying to get him on, they charged everybody. Like everybody they picked up, they charged us all with the same charges.
Which location for American Car Center?
Charlotte Pike.
Here in Nashville, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Commissioner Jackson, a few questions. So let me make sure. Through association with a friend that was cross street, drug house, selling drugs.
Wasn't a drug house. We grew up across the street from each other. His parents, my parents. We were adults when this took place, but I've known him since we were little. So we've always, we grew up together.
Okay. Now, were you involved in it? In the laundry, in the drugs? When you got arrested, no drugs on you at all? Because you was associated with this young man and going to visit him, and they knew that they were watching this place wherever the transaction was being taken place. And because of your visitation, let me finish now.
I'm sorry.
I'm trying to get understanding. Because of your visitation to a friend, and as the drug enforcement was watching this, you got caught up going to somewhere where drug trafficking was going on, and you got charged with all of those three things, because that's what was all going on at that particular home. Where did they pick you up at when they first picked you up?
At my grandparents' house. It was my grandfather's birthday, so I was there, and I saw three cars. Well, three-ish. It was like two Explorers and a Crown Victoria or Grand Marquis. They got out, they hopped up, walked to the door, and I went to the door because I'm not thinking anything, and they asked for me, though, and I was like, okay, what's going on? And they was like, well, you know what's going on? I was like, I don't. And when they started, explaining and saying names, I was still kind of stumped. They actually picked up my daughter's mother as well, too, just because of association. Yeah, they charged her with these same exact charges as well. So, of course, those 2 years was pretty tough on us, because thinking about our daughter at all times, like, we don't know where this is going and what's going to go on. She actually, they offered something, was it a proffer, where you come down and you talk to them and you tell them what, anything you may know. Basically, none of the information was even valuable to them. So they kept, targeting us, and, well, we know you know more, we know you know more. And it went on for, like I said, almost 2 years. And I remember we went into court one day. We had been to court numerous times. And this time when we went in, as soon as we went in, my lawyer pulled me back outside, and I'm just like, oh, God, what's going to happen? And she was like, well, they offering probation.
A little bit closer to mine.
She was just saying that they're offering probation to everybody except Mr. Hickson, which was the main person they was after. And I was like, well, probation? I was like, I thought we were going to, go to court and fight. And that's when she explained to me about the 90-something% conviction rate. She was like, you're not doing anything as long as you stay out of trouble. Probation's not such a bad thing. And she was like, but it's your choice. We can take it to trial or we can accept the probation. She told me how much it would be to take it to trial, which I didn't have anyway. And then I took the probation because honestly, after 2 years, not knowing that every time when you go to court, what's going to happen, if you're going to walk out of there free or shackled, the probation sounded amazing to me. So I took the probation. Everybody did.
So you never was caught with any drugs paraphernalia on you?
Okay. No, sir.
And you never was caught with any money laundering or anything?
No,
it's
sir.
just because of association with the guy that was doing all this stuff?
Right. And it wasn't even like I was going back and forth to a drug house or anything like that. It was, they saw, like, the pictures and evidence that they showed. They had a picture of me standing at his parents' house. They had a picture of him standing out in my front yard one day. We just kind of leaned up against the car talking. They had a picture of us leaving a restaurant. We went out to eat for his birthday, and like that was their evidence.
Commissioner Vaughn, have you been in any other trouble or anything else since this? Okay.
Commissioner Norton, did you have any awareness that he was dealing in drugs?
I did. And I didn't realize how serious that guilty by association thing really could be until all this transpired. We haven't said 2 words to each other. I've seen him once or twice since then, and it was just, you would think we never knew each other. We just kept going because my thing was, I felt like he could have spoke up or said something while all that was going on, but he was just worried about himself. He never, said anything. So to me, it was just kind of like, that lifelong friendship was a wrap.
Prior to you getting arrested, I know you said you never sold any drugs. Did you ever deliver drugs for this guy?
No.
Okay.
Supervision, will there be at the Charlotte location, Mr. Norton?
If I may, real quick, actually we hired Mr. Miller to manage our Charlotte Pike location. His regional manager that has direct oversight with him, Zachary Gardner, is here today as well. And Zach is based in Nashville and over all the Nashville locations, including Clarksville, Tennessee. So 1 day a week, he's in every single store. From an internal perspective, just so that the commission is aware, as the money laundering would directly relate to consumer issues, we reconcile cash daily at every location. We don't accept cash except for down payments on the vehicles. And more importantly, at the point in time, with our point of sale system, our dealer management software, when the money is receipted in, the customer gets a time-stamped receipt that they take, as well as our accounting department gets a time-stamp receipt at the moment that that money is receipted in as well. So the internal controls that we have in place to eliminate fraud at the local level or any type of laundering at the local level are pretty specific.
Would Mr. Miller have employee recruiting duties or?
In conjunction with Mr. Gardner, yes, our sales managers are responsible with the regional manager for identifying talent, if you will, in the sales area. So he will be recruiting individuals to do that along with his regional manager. And our interview process is fairly lengthy internally.
How many employees? You're going to need a strong human resources process for these folks.
And I think as car guys and car ladies, we can all attest is that sometimes human resources doesn't necessarily understand what makes a good salesperson. So from a sales perspective, we are heavily involved in that recruiting process. And as I said earlier, I would like to come back to a motor vehicle commission where I don't have to speak and I can just maybe learn something. But today, as luck would have it, we had everybody on all the appeals at once. So I apologize for the first inclination that the commission gets of American Car Center is in this nature. But I do feel very strongly about all the employees that we have hired, and so I do appreciate the consideration of the commission.
Hear from the regional manager just very quickly, sir. I think you understand from what you've heard of the discussion here, the concerns of the commission and what we're trying to sort our way through. So if you tell us briefly what you do and your background.
I oversee the day-to-day operation of all my sales managers in the Nashville region and Clarksville. So I'm very hands-on with them on a day-to-day basis. I'm micromanage. I'm a very big micromanager. So every day-to-day operations, I'm there. I step foot in my stores in Nashville. Every store I'm in there at least a couple hours out the day, if not the whole day in every store throughout the week. So always on the go. Yes, sir.
Mr. Norton, I have a question for you, please, before you leave. No, the other gentleman.
The regional
regional question. How many stores do you oversee day to day?
5.
5. How many sales staff is that?
Each store averages around 3 salespeople.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
You review the applications for each one of the salesmen?
Yes, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yeah, I really do.
Thank you.
I need to refresh him. He has 19 salespeople.
Further questions?
Commissioner Jackson, I motion that we grant the license.
Second.
You can have a seat for the regional manager. Mr. Miller, if you hang around. All right. We had a motion from Mr. Jackson to grant, seconded by Commissioner Galvin. Is there discussion of the motion? There is no discussion. A call for a roll call vote. Yes is the motion to grant. No is to uphold the denial. Director Shaw. Anybody
Mr.
heard
West?
over there? Well,
Yes.
okay. Director Shaw.
Commissioner Chibanian,
Yes.
Commissioner Lee,
Yes.
Commissioner Barker,
Yes.
Commissioner Fox,
Yes.
Commissioner Galvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Norton,
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn, Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer,
Yes.
Commissioner Evans,
Yes.
Commissioner Tomaso,
Yes.
Chairman Roberts.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Congratulations, Mr. Miller.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you. William Freeman, Bob Frensley, Chrysler Jeep Ram.
Members of the Commission, Mr. Freeman is before us today for felonies in Mississippi related to uttering forgery and burglary of a building. The latest date of release was November 2016, meaning we're in their 5-year statute. And yes, both of these felonies are related to moral turpitude, so this commission has the discretion to deny after conducting a fresh start analysis.
Would be eligible by rule 2021.
Yes.
Okay. All right, sure. Well, Mr. Freeman, tell us a little about
Yeah. Good morning.
some
and
circumstances and
yes,
a
sir.
little background.
Good morning, and thank you all for hearing my case here. I've got a couple of documents I would like for you all to review. Okay. Starting off, I didn't really know because I've been in the sales for close to 30 years. I'm not a young man. Okay. I didn't know the process, of licensing, because when I was in Michigan, Texas, they didn't require a sales license at that time. So I was incarcerated in Mississippi for 8 mandatory years. Okay, I wanted to show you all actually I would like for you all just to look through all this stuff right here, the things that I have accomplished since I've been out.
We'll just pass that to Commissioner Tomaso.
Trinity Automotive, once I came here to Nashville, upon release from the 8 mandatory years that I did in the Mississippi State Penitentiary at Parchman, my charge was forgery of 2 checks, and the 2 checks were stolen out of a business. I was given 8 mandatory years in Mississippi State Penitentiary, which I did, completed, okay? Upon coming here, I wanted to get back into the car business. I went over to Trinity Automotive. I've got hired there. I submitted the application. I was approved. The application was approved. I worked there for a little bit over a year. Trinity Automotive went out of business. So I went to Bob Frenzy Chrysler Jeep, who I'm previously with, and they were going to transfer my license from Trinity Automotive over to Bob Frenzy, which I didn't think that would be a problem at all. So then I found out that my license had been denied. If you look in there, it's a sales license that's still good from Trinity Automotive. Okay. Going on from there, I completed TPOM, Tennessee Prison Ministry Reentry Program, here in Nashville. Okay. From there, I also, with the Salvation Army, I'm starting with the program Research the Children. That's where I'm going out into the community, helping the young people to see that you can get caught in a bad situation. For forging 2 checks, I did 8 mandatory years, okay, which, I don't know, politically inclined, but I'm asking you all to show leniency on me and please reinstate my license after reviewing my paperwork that I showed you.
You stole the checks and then did forgery on the checks?
The checks, I forged the check. This actually was a setup from the beginning. They gave me a person gave me 2 checks that he had stolen from a business. I cashed those checks. Those checks were stolen, okay? So I ended up with the forgery charge and the burglary charge, which shouldn't have only been probably a probationary sentence, but I did 8 mandatory years behind that.
Did you bring somebody with you?
Yes, sir, I got
from
General
Bob
Sales
Frenzy?
Manager here from Bob Frenzy.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I'd like to thank the Commission for allowing us to be here.
Thank you for being here. Tell us a little about your association with Mr. Freeman, what you might know about what he can do going forward.
Freeman came to the dealership seeking an employment application, and at the time he had been employed with Trinity. He presented me with a valid sales license at the time, and we have a strict background check. We have a strict drug screen. We have a very strict MVR check. He passed all those. Upon us interviewing him, I interviewed him, the general manager interviewed him. We had decided that he'd be a good asset to the business, and we hired him. And employees like him, other salespeople like him. He dresses very well. He always shows exceptional courtesy to customers, which is very important to our store. We are a single-point store which has been in business for about 40 years. So we rely on a lot of aspects to keep us in business, especially with the competition that's out there now. Based on all that, we have determined that, and that's the reason why I'm here today. We don't normally make these exceptions, but we are here today because of that. And when our HR person said that his license were denied, we decided, well, we're going to do what it takes to see if we can get him reinstated. Also, we put him in a blue-collar position in the service department, something that he's not used to doing. He's been in sales, but he's been doing it hands down, and we appreciate that. So we're here today to hopefully you guys will reconsider him.
Questions for either of the gentlemen?
Commissioner Jackson, just a couple. What year, I was trying to find, what year did this all happen? Can the staff?
Was, see, I usually list it in the memo. It was 10 years ago, was when the actual forgery occurred.
Incident happened.
Question for Mr. Freeman. Have you had any issues since then?
No issues at all. I've been working with Research Our Children's. With the Salvation Army over here on Dickinson Road. We have meetings on Wednesday nights. We go out through the community. I try to let people know, the situation that I went through, that 8 years, feeling that I was unjust sentenced for 8 years for something I thought it should have been maybe a probationary hearing. But anyhow, no, I'm trying to let people know, do not get involved. When it comes between trouble and the law, I favor the law.
Have you had any customer complaint issues or
None whatsoever.
any things like that?
No, I worked at Trinity Automotive until they closed, and I was the top salesman there just about every month for about 14 months.
You've been in the automotive business for, what you said, 30?
Close to 30.
30 years, roughly?
Yes.
Okay.
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion we grant him his license.
Second.
So a motion to grant the license by Commissioner Barker, second by Bond. Is there discussion of the motion?
Commissioner West?
Yes.
Commissioner Tribanian?
Yes.
Commissioner Lee?
Yes.
Commissioner Barker?
Yes.
Commissioner Fox?
Yes.
Commissioner Galvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Norton?
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Tomaso?
Yes.
Chairman Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Congratulations, Mr. Freeman.
Yeah, thank you all. And you all have a blessed day. Thank you. All right.
David Jarnigan, Carswell, Sevierville, Tennessee.
Members of the commission, Mr. Jarnigan's license was denied based on the reporting of an e-felony for official misconduct. The last date of release, probation, or parole was June of 2017, meaning that we're within the 5 years since that's ended. And official misconduct would be considered a crime of moral turpitude, so this commission has the ability to deny the license after conducting a fresh start analysis if it so chooses.
Yes, sir.
Tell us a little background.
Yes, sir.
And keep in mind that we're more interested in how we're getting.
In other words, let's make this as quick as possible. I'll do my very best. I'm a little long-winded. I'm sorry, but I will talk as quick as I can.
I just wanted to let you know what the focus is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I originally got my car dealer or my car sales license in 1993. I was 22 years old, and I was destined for the car business. I loved it, and I've worked for several people in the Knoxville area, whether it's be Twin City Automotive Group, Rusty Wallace Automotive Group, along the way, and I've got quite a bit of experience in the car business. And everyone knows that you do have a chance, you burn out a little bit and you get a little tired. And I was in management and I was tired and I decided to get out for a little while and do something new. So I tried the Department of Human Services for the state of Tennessee as a CSO. That's a Children's Service Officer for a department in Dandridge called Mountain View. I'm 45 years old, and I'm trying to handle 15-year-olds from Chattanooga, Nashville, Memphis that are felons themselves, and lots of times are quite a bit bigger than myself. So I had to go through a process of getting to know them. And anyway, so we were severely understaffed. Lots of overtime, as much as you want. And one day we were understaffed. The person in charge told me to take these 8 children who are felons behind gate 1 and pick up trash. He said, get them as far away from the school as possible. I did. Next thing you know, I turned my back for a moment. One jumps in a truck, and out the back gate he goes. I made up a story. I said he hit me so I could protect my job. I don't know why I did it. It was the stupidest thing I've ever done in my life. I went home. I stayed up all night, went back into work the next day, and said, I lied. I said, he didn't hit me. So I went to the Dandridge Police Department and made my statement, retracted my statement. My new statement is that the child did not hit me before he ran the truck through the out the back gate. They said, well, we're going to think about it, and we'll let you know in a few days. A few days later, they called me. As I became very nervous, I went and hired an attorney.
I came down. They arrested me for official misconduct and threw me to the back of the police car. I thought official misconduct, what's this? During this time, when I got to the Jefferson County Jail, the magistrate would not sign a bond on me. He said no bond. No, meaning that release him when I got there. The sheriff at that point met me at the back door of Jefferson County. I fingerprinted, took my picture. He opened up the front door. I walked out. And the DA didn't like it. This went on for over a year. They accused my family and I of some kind of conspiracy against him for releasing me with no bond. He would not come off the charges after a year and attorney fees and stuff, and you hear that from a lot of people. Attorneys do get very expensive. I gave in to official misconduct as a Class E felony, spent 0 time in jail, was given 2 years of probation, in which they let me go early. After a year of supervised, they let me go to unsupervised because I had no problems. And since then, of course, I haven't had any issues or problems. Well, now I'm a felon, so it's kind of hard to get a job. And I know the car business is probably about as well as anybody in here. So I got back in the business. Well, I got in the RV business for a little while. And then when I heard of an opportunity with a new dealership that's growing in Sevierville area, 2 young owners who have a very tech-minded and savvy concerning internet and various things. I wanted to get back in the car business, and instead of lying this time and writing no under felonies, I checked yes, because I'm not going to learn my lesson once that lying didn't get you anywhere. So once I heard that I was released, or not released, but no longer had a license, I informed the owner and said I've got to go. The small dealership, there was nowhere for me to be, wasn't a service department, wasn't a cleanup department and things. So in November I came home, and my wife fortunately works and has a job and supported us. And I'm about to pull my hair out, so I hope you guys will find it in your hearts to give me my license back, because as soon as I walk out of here, I do have a job back into the car business. And I've been fortunate to meet this man here, and he stood beside me and behind me the whole time. And I've been more than honest with him about everything.
Sir, would you like to address the commission on behalf of
Dear Commissioners.
Go right ahead, sir.
Yeah. My name is Tim. What I can say, I believe that business is people. Success is people who you work with. And I've been advised to hire Mr. David from a few people. I've interviewed him a couple times. And actually, we're a small business. It's hard to hide things. And I trust him. And we need his experience. We're growing. We've been in business a couple years, 2 years actually. We're opening second location right now. We're scaling. We're growing, and I believe everybody deserves a second chance. In this case, first probably, right? I would say. Would like appreciate opportunity to talk to you.
Thank you. What was your full name, sir?
The what?
What was your full name?
Timur.
Wolf. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Last name? That's what you're asking? I'm sorry.
Your first and last name, sir.
My full first and last is Timur Zaloyev. I'm originally Ukrainian. Yeah, it's complicated.
I just didn't pick up. I heard the Tim part. I didn't pick up the entire name, and we needed the name for the record. Thank you. All right. Okay, commission members, questions?
Just to clarify, what dealership are you going to be employed with?
Carswell,
Perfect.
hopefully.
We're just making sure it matches.
Yes,
Thank you.
Carswell.
What is your position with the dealership, sir? You're a part owner?
Yes, I'm one of them. There is 2 of us.
Okay.
Without the consideration today, it'd be 2021, March of 2021.
Mr. Jarnigan, any other trouble that you've been in since
Absolutely
this?
not.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that we grant the license.
Second that.
Okay, we have a motion, Commissioner Vaughn, to grant the license, seconded by Commissioner Chabanian. Any discussion? We'll call for a roll call vote. Yes would be for the motion to grant, and no would be to uphold the denial.
Commissioner West?
Yes.
Commissioner Lee?
Yes.
Commissioner Barker?
Yes.
Commissioner Fox?
Yes.
Commissioner Galvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Norton?
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Tomaso?
Yes.
Chairman Roberts?
Yes. Congratulations, Mr.
Oh.
Thank you,
And a
ladies.
yes as
Mr.
well.
Chabanian, I'm sorry.
Yes as well. Thank you.
Well, he seconded it.
Okay. Congratulations. Sir.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Thank you. I really
Thank-
much appreciate it.
Thank you. Kennemer Automotive, Chattanooga. Did I say that correctly? Kennemer?
Members of the commission, the dealership application related to Mr. Kennemer was denied originally for a B felony for aggravated robbery. This charge was issued in 2011, but reinstated in 2015 due to a probation violation. This is within the 5 years since the last date would be 2016. So just for clarification, this is the March 2021. Mr. Jarnigan's would have been January 22. I looked at the wrong memo. And then this does involve moral turpitude, so the commission has the authority to deny if they so choose after a fresh start analysis.
Now, is this a dealer license?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
And would you be the owner? Okay. Is this a business that's up and running now?
If I have everything that's up, I just need the dealer's license. Need to go ahead and start.
And you're Mr. Kennemer? Okay. Go right ahead and address the commission, sir, very briefly.
That's right here for you guys.
Mr. Kennemer, if you don't mind, please speak into the mic. Yeah.
You're a tall guy.
I thought you might need to adjust it a little bit.
Well, yes, my name is Ray Kennemer, and I'm 28 years old from Chattanooga, Tennessee. And when I was 17 years old, I hung around the wrong crowd and everything, and at the end of the day, I ended up getting charged with aggravated robbery. And I was 17 in the ninth grade because I just didn't have any type of guidance. Like my mom, she worked at Crystals. My dad, he was on drugs real bad, so really didn't have any type of guidance. So I tended to the streets, and I started playing basketball, and I started going to school. I got a scholarship for basketball out of Miles College, and the DA, he just said, "You're not going to college, you're going to prison." So at 19, I got locked up.
Back answer to the mic.
Yeah, I did 26 months in prison, and I accomplished it. Well, I took 13 classes, and I got 13 certificates. And when I got out, I went to school for automotive tech. So I love cars, and I went to school for automotive tech. And all the jobs that I'd applied at, they just like, since you've been charged with aggravated robbery, we're not going to be able to give you a job. So I quit school, and I still was working on cars. So I was working on cars on my own. And I was on parole. I was on parole for I think like 3 years and a half, and I was doing pretty good and everything. And then this guy who I was working on cars with, we went to Birmingham, Alabama, and he took his girlfriend and everything. And out of nowhere, his girlfriend, she just started just going crazy, and they end up getting in a fight and everything. And she called the police. And before I know it, I was incarcerated. I got incarcerated in Alabama because where I was going to go pick up parts at. And I made bond, came and told my parole officer everything that happened. And she was just like, hey, just go ahead and go to court and go from there. I'm thinking like 2 or 3 weeks later, I was violated. And then during this incarceration in 2015, I was talking to a lot of guys, and they was like, hey, what are you doing back in prison? I was like, I just violated. And I started talking to this guy about truck driving. And when I got out, I became a truck driver. And I was employed at PTL. I did 250,000 safe miles. And I trained 23 people over there at PTL. And then for my birthday, I told myself I was going to quit and I was going to start my own business. So November last year, I quit. I quit my job and started my own business and everything. So that's where I stand at now.
Okay. And you're going to own this business?
Yes, sir. Yes, I'm an owner.
You have a partner?
No, sir. No, sir. I'm not alone.
Do you have any employees yet?
No, sir.
Okay.
I got a few lined up and everything, but I just got everybody waiting. Like I get probably 30 calls a day just off my sign. So I just keep on getting calls like, hey, when are you gonna open? When are you gonna open? But I'm just waiting on the dealer's license.
And you know what the minimum requirements are for to get a dealer license?
Yes, sir.
You can get a bond.
Oh, I got everything. I got a bond. I got a $600,000 insurance on the company and everything. I got all the paperwork. Everything is done. I just need the dealer's license. Like when I was driving trucks, I used to listen to audio books every day. While I drive, I always just listen to audio books and try to see how I can retire, how I can produce. Because I don't have no kids. That's why I said before I have any kids, I want to be able to offer something to the kids.
Norton, you mentioned the sign. What kind of sign? The one that you was required for the motor vehicle license?
Yes, sir. My business. I have my number up there because I'm offering 0% interest, no credit check, and no job check. Because I was at a time where my credit, I really didn't have any credit, so I really didn't know anything about credit, and I couldn't get a car. So I got a program set up where I'm gonna teach people how to build credit, and I got this guy. He's a credit repair expert, and I'm gonna help them repair their credit as well.
Are you familiar with titling laws? And
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. You know what an open title is?
Excuse me?
Do you know what an open title is?
An open title?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. That's when the title has been. That's okay. Say if I got a car, and I sell you the car, and you don't sign the title, but you sell the car to somebody else, so now you just sold the open title car.
No, you're not supposed to do that.
Oh yeah, of course not. But I know what it is.
This wasn't an educational question. This was okay. All right.
You have a facility all set up and ready
Yes,
to
sir.
go?
Yes, sir. I have a facility. I got 2 lots and everything put together, and I pay $1,800 a month there. So I've been paying for everything. I've been paying for all my bonds and everything. What the bond and the insurance. I've been paying all my bills, and I'm just waiting on to open up right now. I got everything back in November of last year.
Like you had a plan to get this done.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir. I told myself this is what I'm gonna do. So I saved up. Saved up some knife capital and everything. I said for 28, I'm gonna just quit my job. I wanna be able to show everybody else, because a lot of kids I talk to in the area, they know that you messed up. They like, hey, I done got in some trouble, so my life over with. So I'm trying to like, hey, if you really want it, you can go for it. You can get it. So I really want a dealership. So quit my job.
So you worked as a truck driver to
Yes,
raise
sir.
money to open this business?
Yes, sir.
To save it. So you don't have a partner. You don't have any outside funding.
I told
It's all
myself I want no partners. I don't want nobody else's money. I want to work for myself.
What price range cars are you planning on stocking?
Excuse me?
What price range vehicles are
Probably
you?
from 500 to maybe 5,000. Because I love to work on cars, so I'm gonna buy a lot of cars that's wrecked or need a motor or something. So those cars, they go pretty cheap. So I love the project.
Going to be buy here, pay here? Or
Yes, sir. Buy here, pay here. Yes, sir. The friend who I grew up with, I told him if he continue working hard and everything, I'm gonna start him a towing company, because I want to have him towing my cars. So I'm gonna help him start a towing company and everything. Yeah, that's who's gonna be towing my cars. I was 17 years old when I did my charge and everything. So I was a child. But when I was incarcerated, I hung around a lot of old people, just because I really wanted to learn from their mistakes and not hang around somebody that got the same mindset as mine. Mindset and start learning how to think.
I have another question. Can I ask, where are you going to get the money for the buy here, pay here? Who's going to fund that?
I saved over $70,000 while driving the truck.
70,000.
Because I can't, like in Chattanooga, if you have a felony, you can't even get approved for a house unless you buying it. You can't get approved for an apartment. So I stayed in my truck. Last year I worked 297 days. I never went home. I just wanted to work because I was like, I got a goal, and I went for it. That's my goal.
Commissioner Jackson, this question to the staff. when they apply for a dealer license, they have to send the bond in and all that. Has he met all those requirements?
Did everything myself. Did nobody help me do anything. I did all my research myself. I read books. I listened to audio books. It's a guy named Rick Dyer from YouTube. I watched all his videos on how he built this business. And I've just been watching everybody, how they build their business. That's how I build mine.
Okay. Motion that we approve his application.
Second.
Commissioner Lee makes a motion to grant, and it was seconded by Commissioner Norton. Discussion of the motion.
Just one more question here.
Yes.
If we were to grant this license, are we going to see you back here? Okay. Thank you.
Right. Don't hear any more questions or comments. Director Shaw will have a roll call vote. Yes is for the motion to grant, and no will uphold the denial. Ms.
One
Shaw.
point of clarification. Who was the second on that?
Commissioner Norton.
Commissioner West?
Yes.
Commissioner Chibanian?
Yes.
Commissioner Lee?
Yes.
Commissioner Barker?
Yes.
Commissioner Fox?
Yes.
Commissioner Galvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Norton?
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer?
Yes.
Commissioner Evans?
Yes.
Commissioner Tomaso?
Yes.
Chairman Roberts?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mr. Kennemer, the commission feels like you're well prepared. We do as well. Good luck, sir, with your license and your career.
How long would it take for everything, for all the paperwork to come in?
Let me direct you to, it won't be long. Let me direct you to Mr. Gillum or Ms. Shaw. Mr. Kennemer? There you go. You get tired of working for yourself. Okay. All right. Well, there you go. That's hot service there. All right. We're ready for the director's report. Ms. Shaw, Director Shaw.
Thank you, Chairman. Before I start my report, I just want to tell y'all how much I appreciate this plaque of recognition. I was stunned. Y'all caught me totally by surprise. And thank you so much, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to serve as your executive director for the last 3 or 4 years. Thank you. The director's report, dealers opened or relocated during the last quarter. There were 70. Active licensees as of January 9, 2018, there are 3,768 dealers. Last meeting we had, there's a comparison total on here for your reference, so you can see we have a slight decline. There were 3,791 last time. Applications in process, we have 29. Distributors and manufacturers, we have 138. And we are coming up on renewal time for the distributors, which is usually has a spike in our renewal activity and our revenues. Auctions as well are at the point of renewal this year, and there were 29. Representatives, 642. Salespersons, 16,707, and that is a significant decline from the previous meeting. Dismantlers, 256. That's also showing a decline. And the RV dealers, 41. That's an increase. And the RV manufacturers at 74. Motor vehicle shows and permits, we have had 9. Complaint report, open complaints from October until December. Number of complaints opened, 153. Number of complaints closed, 187. Way to go, Sarah. Annual sales reports. We are in the annual sales report period. The data on this report reflects the activity from last year. We are, for those of you who may not have submitted your annual sales report, it is due February 15th, and at no cost, submit it online, and after that there is a $100 late penalty on it. So we are coming right up on the peak of annual sales reporting time. Performance metrics taken from October 2018 to current. Average number of days to license at 3.28. Our customer-focused government goal is at 96%. Compliance at 94.82% as of 2018. Motor Vehicle Commission satisfaction rating as of October 1st, 2018 through January 9, 2019 is at 94%. Disciplinary collections since from June until August 2018 is at $42,550.50. Online adoption across all professions is 79.1%, and that is all of our 1010, which is an initial application for licensure. Basically, what's being evaluated there is the type of license that would put somebody to work for the first time. Physical information, as of November 2018, the MVC had a $115,373 deficit. In August 2018, the MVC had a $51,566 deficit, which was reported at the last meeting. Outreach, there are a number of activities that we've been involved in, continuing to be involved with the Internet Vehicle Sales Working Group and the Vehicle Standing Committee there. Have upcoming Law Institute conference, which is associated with the Vehicle Standing Committee, and different AMVA standing committees, and we also participated, as well as did some of our commission members, in Operation Cognito, which was a campaign organized by the Department of Safety to bring awareness to distracted driving and work zone safety campaign. And I think Commissioner Vaughn participated in the Memphis area, where there were some of the other commission members that had also indicated that they were participating as well. And I was in Nashville, which was quite interesting. We were on the bus. It was very productive, and anytime we can partner with Department of Safety to help bring about awareness and help them, we were happy to be invited to participate in that event. There are a couple of housekeeping items that I wanted to mention, some housekeeping and some other things. Some of you are aware of the fact that the insurance bill passed. I should have put the number on here, but there was a bill that specifically affected businesses or dealerships that hold the title on a vehicle as far as the recording of insurance, making sure that during that period of time they have a temporary tag. Their temporary tag is issued on that vehicle, that they have a responsibility now of ensuring that that insurance is actually on that vehicle during that narrow period of time. I've spoken with Department of Revenue about the possibility of having that recording aspect added to the easy tag log, which would make it a lot easier for those businesses. It will not, that particular law does not affect every business, only if you are in a situation where you are holding the title on that vehicle, and only during that period of time while your temporary tag is on there. But it does reference in that statute that you keep it in the same fashion as your temporary tag, and it seemed logical to me that the simplest way to do that would have that easy tag or that electronic system updated so that while the dealer or the dealer's employee is filling out that tag log, they just went ahead and collected that information and put it on that log. It'd make it easy for the dealer, it'd make it easy to be audited, and just be a seamless process. So I am waiting on word back from them, but I'm working on that, trying to kind of smooth that process out for the businesses that it affects. You'll notice going forward, as members of the commission, you will be asked to sign a hard copy expense claim document. You haven't had to do that in the past, but there have been some procedural changes with the Finance and Administration they are now requiring that hard copy signature. So once you'll submit your receipts like you always have, and then we will send a document back to you. Marcia Bynum, who you deal with on that, will send it back to you, and then you'll just need to sign it and send it back so it can become part of the permanent record. There's also your 2019 conflict of interest statements. I think they went out sometime last week. We've already collected part of them, but we do need to get that done. And then I'd noted previously that just to note that the meeting date had changed, which is some of the absentees that we've had from the commission today. It was we're seeing it because of that meeting date, not that those commission members had intended to participate today. They just couldn't because they had a pre-scheduled conflict. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
The August deficit number was how much, Ms. Shaw?
The August deficit number was $51,566.
Fiscal year? Or is that for the?
That would have
been. Was that 2017 fiscal year, or is that?
That's the 20. That's 2018. That's 2018. That's this year.
Questions for Director Shaw? Well,
motion to adopt the director's report. Commissioner Jackson.
Second, Commissioner Vaughn.
Motion to adopt, Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Vaughn. Staff, looks like your usual fine job. You have quite a good staff. Okay, by voice vote, those in favor of the motion to adopt, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Motion carries. Ms. Page, legal report.
Morning, members of the commission. We have the legal report for you today. First thing I would like to note is that number 5, the name accidentally did not get taken off. So if you recognize that name or don't feel comfortable voting on that entry, please feel free to recuse yourself. But otherwise, it should be fine moving forward, especially since the recommendation is closed on a letter of caution. The other things to note that we changed and talked about in committee, I know some of you were here, but just to update everybody, complaint number 4, we want to make sure and clarify that as to the first complaint, the litigation monitoring status will mean that that part will come back to this commission after we've gathered more information. And for the second part, the committee recommended that that second portion for the second complaint be changed from a letter of warning to a $500 civil penalty. So that's one recommendation the committee made. It may be best, Chairman, for clarity, if the body would like to vote for that change at this point, and then we can adopt everything else as a whole after that change, and then I'll go on to the other 2 we made notes on.
All the changes that you mentioned, or just that change?
I could do all the changes at once if that's probably more efficient. I think that's the better way to do it. I think you're right. So I'll go to 33 and 58 and let you know what we talked about in committee, and then we can vote on the changes. We can just do one vote where it's as changed if the committee, if the commission agrees. That's right.
All right. Then we'll entertain a motion for adopting the changes to the legal report as stated by Ms. Page.
Got a few more to add, if that's all right, Chairman. Number 33, the committee just wanted to, this is not a formal change, but also wanted to note that this will be brought back at the next meeting with additional information. So I wanted to note that for the full board. And on number 58, the recommended penalty, we are modifying from a letter of instruction to a $500 civil penalty for false, fraudulent, deceptive acts. That concludes the changes that were made in committee. Sorry, Chairman.
Thank you. I lost my place. Okay. Any questions for Ms. Page about the legal report and what the committee recommended?
Commissioner Jackson motion that we adopt those changes for the legal report.
Second.
Jackson motion to adopt the changes, and seconded by Commissioner West. Any discussion of the motions? Hearing none, chair calls for a voice vote on the motion to adopt the changes to the legal report. Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Like to adopt, that was adoption of the changes, report. The entire report. Okay.
Commissioner Jackson motion that we adopt the entire legal report. Second. Including the changes.
Motion by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Evans to adopt the entire report, the report in its entirety. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, chair calls for a roll call vote on the motion to adopt the entire legal report. Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Okay. Okay, legislative update.
Members of the commission, I'm happy to announce at this point we don't have anything necessarily pending. As you know, we just started session back up. So if you happen to see anything, we're always looking for more eyes. If you see anything out there you think affects the commission, don't hesitate to let Paula, myself, really anybody know. But at this point, we have not noted any bills that have been entered that are of concern to us yet. But we are always keeping an eye out, and we'll be sure to update you, especially at the April meeting. At that point, the bill filing deadline will have passed, and we'll be well into session, if not coming around to the end of it, hopefully. So that's all I have for legislative update.
We need a motion to approve that report.
So moved.
Moved by B, seconded by Commissioner Evans. Those in favor of the motion to adopt the legislative report, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. That motion carries. Ready to move to the committee reports. The Rules Committee met this morning, chaired by...
This is the update for the 15th, is the first part?
Yep, chaired by Mr. Long.
So I'll give you an update because we will have two parts. We met on the 15th. It was myself, Chairman Roberts, let's see, Mr. Lee, Murray, White, and Fox that met on the 15th. We discussed, with the help of council, two different changes that were proposed, and then we actually asked them to take it back, reword it, and re-present it to us, which they did this morning, which I guess we'll do that part at the old business. Is that correct, if I follow the agenda correctly?
That should work.
Okay. Okay, so that is the update from the 15th, October 15th.
Now, we'll come back to that in old business.
Yes.
Okay. Audit Committee is chaired by Commissioner Melton. She's not here today. But on November the 14th, we met via conference call with Assistant Deputy Commissioner Carter Lawrence, Ms. Shaw, Director, Commissioner Barker, Commissioner Tomaso, and myself. Back in late spring, we reported from the Audit Committee that we were tracking about a loss of, I think, $182,000. At the end of the fiscal year, which would have ended June 30, we're pleased to inform the Commission that that deficit is only $91,000. So now, every other year, because of our license cycles, we'll have a year that's typically in the red or has a negative, has a deficit for that particular budget. And this coming year should be our year that revenue increases, and what we're supposed to do is to get enough this fiscal year to break us even with the previous year. It's kind of the guide that we've been. So, all in that report, are there any questions about the audit? Oh, and as Ms. Shaw reported, we're tracking right now negative $51,000 in August.
Totaling about $115,000 now, up through November. I mean, yes, up through November, we're tracking about $115,000.
November, okay. We have which license? A distributor license is coming
The
up?
manufacturer, distributor, auto auctions renew, and the representatives, manufacturer representatives renew this year. They renew the deadline for the renewal is June 30th. The end of the fiscal year is June 30th. Jason has his phone on.
No, that's my watch.
So they are. It's hard to tell until you get all the way to the fiscal year we are, because our licenses are on a 2-year renewal cycle. Those are the only license types that renew at the same time every time, and they are a 2-year license. So our budget is on a 2-year cycle. Our revenue stream. So and it gets a little challenging, because since the renewal date is on the 30th, the budget shuts down at the end of June 30th, because we'll actually close this down before that, because the state has to zero out its balance its budget each year. And so you may see revenues get pulled over into the next fiscal year. So it is really tricky for us.
Watch very carefully this deficit. This got to turn around pretty quickly for this fiscal. Questions about the audit committee report?
Excellent. The only funds that comes in for our division is for licensing, what's listed on the direct report. Those are on the fund, and fines.
Fines are part of that.
Fines part of it.
Yeah, we receive no tax dollars.
In the budget, and we're required by statute to
I was just
at least break even.
Off the record, I was just trying to figure out a way we can take a cruise.
Well, any more questions or comments? Excuse me. Okay. Hearing none, Chair would entertain a motion to adopt the audit committee report.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Vaughn.
Second, Commissioner
Second
Jackson.
by Commissioner Jackson. Okay. Any discussion? Hearing no, those the motion, those for the motion to adopt the audit committee. I'm sorry, audit committee report. Say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Pardon my. I'm thinking 2-3 items ahead. Okay, then new business. Only new business I know of is a February 20th special hearing, formal hearing, February 20th.
20, is it 20th?
That's right, February 20th. We've moved the hearing that was originally scheduled for the 24th of this month to the 20th. We haven't got the official continuance back, but the ALJ understands that no one will be here on the 24th, so I don't anticipate a problem on that move. On the February 20th, that's right. Yeah, he hasn't approved it being moved from the date we previously had our meeting set, so yeah, not yet.
All right, then we will go to old business, and we would need to hear from the proposed rules.
Back to me again. The Rules Committee met this morning, and it was Commissioners Lee, Fox, Chairman Roberts, and myself. And we discussed what we'd previously asked the council to go back and reword. And the first part is for applications. Would you mind, Ms. Page, going over that real quick with everybody?
Sure. We have recently proposed a change in which we would require, really specifically the goal is to get email addresses. As we've moved electronically, both in our licensing scheme as well as in our complaint scheme, the major form of communication the department has used is email. So Section 5 on that first section of .08 on applications, it seeks to clarify that all applicants are required to provide a current address, phone number, and an email address. It was brought up that it would be good to also collect fax numbers if available. So the second sentence is something I recently added with the intent of it requiring folks that have a fax to provide that number, but not requiring you get a fax number. So if available, applicants shall also provide a fax number. Just because not all of my dealers, or I know you all probably feel similarly, don't all use fax. And if they do, sometimes it's actually through email. So I didn't want to require a fax number necessarily within the rules. And the second portion has to do with a move to eliminate the hard ban on a door between businesses. As the rule reads now, if you have a neighboring business, the door has to be permanently sealed. There is a request to reevaluate that, so this is a proposed language adjustment, which would allow those doors to not have to be sealed, but rather secured and locked from the interior in a nature satisfactory to this commission. So giving you a little discretion to look at these incidences case by case. But there was a concern over who is allowed to utilize those doors. So we added the second sentence, which would clarify that those conjoining doors can only be utilized by employees of the businesses and are not to be accessible or utilized at all by members of the public. And so those were the changes that we made. At this point, I'd turn it back over to the chairman, but if you'd like to discuss these rules, but they are ready to vote on if you wanted to, but there's no pressure to do that.
Our committee already did vote on it to bring it to the full commission for a vote today.
Take one rule at a time. Just if you read the rule number and make a motion, include the.
Or so if we'd like to do, what I can do, since, I don't know if, it maybe have been a while, but I have to do the reading all of the stuff into the record. I can go ahead and read through all of this. But Chairman, I did do the questions combined, so I don't know if we wanted to vote on them in their
My
totality.
my motion was to approve what was approved in the
I see.
earlier meeting this morning. That was my motion.
Thank you, Commissioner.
If
Sorry.
that's being said, do you want to go over the form also, or do you want to go ahead and separate?
I would separate them.
Go ahead.
I think the trick is if they're voted on together, they move through the process as one.
Sure.
Correct?
But I see what Commissioner Barker's saying. It's just approving their approval to have it considered today.
Well, we don't have a second on that motion yet. So, okay, we do now. Second by Commissioner Fox. So, motion is to approve the recommendation of the Rules Committee to move the two rules forward for voting by the full commission. Everybody got that one? Those by voice, I'm going to do a voice vote on that one. By voice vote, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Okay. Now I think we could deal with the rules individually.
Motion of the first change for the application.
Is that rule number 5?
It's line 5.
Line 5. Commissioner Jackson motion that we approve line 5 of the general rules of amendments. I think that's what it says up at the top.
Everything you need for that one, or is that phrased where it works?
Yes, I need to, if we want this vote to be the approval for it to go to the next step, I'll have to read through everything, so it may be it might be better to combine the rules into one, so I only have to read through it the one time. For every.
Well, we've already got a motion.
That's all right. Thank you, Commissioner.
I think we can.
I can withdraw it.
Or a friendly amendment to just add the second rule.
I'll accept a friendly amendment.
Good to add the second rule.
The first and the second have approved the amendment to for Ms. Page to read in the rules.
Okay. What I'll do now is I'll read through everything, including the questions, and we'll do a roll call vote at the end, if that's okay. This rule packet seeks to amend Section 0960-01.08 by adding paragraph 5, which reads, applicants are required to provide the commission with a current phone address, phone number, and email address. If available, applicants shall also provide a facsimile number. Additionally, this rule packet would seek to amend 0960-01.21, motor vehicle dealer facilities, by deleting the last sentence of subsection 1, which previously read, any doors between the businesses shall be permanently sealed, and replacing it with the following language. Any doors conjoining the businesses shall be secured and locked from the interior in a nature that is satisfactory to the Commission. Doors conjoining the businesses shall only be utilized by employees of the businesses and not be accessible to or utilized by members of the public. Going on to our analysis, this is our regulatory flexibility addendum that is required by Section 45401 through 45404. The first question asks the type of or types of small businesses and identification and estimate of the numbers of small businesses subject to these rules that would bear the cost or benefit. At the end of 2018, the Tennessee Motor Vehicle Commission licensed 3,791 motor vehicle dealers, 138 distributors manufacturers, 30 auctions, 38 RV dealers, and 73 RV manufacturers. All of those licensees, the majority would be considered small businesses. The rule requiring an email address and other contact information will affect small businesses on their initial application and renewals. A phone number and address were already required, so the only new factor will be the required email address. Email addresses can be obtained for free or at low cost, so the impact should be low. The rule allowing a conjoining private door between businesses would impact new applicants and licensees who wish to add a door because it was previously not allowed. New applicants may have the expense of securing the door. Businesses wishing to add a door would be electing those expenses and would not be required by the rule change. Second, the projected reporting, record-keeping, administrative costs required for compliance with the rule, including professional skills necessary. No projected costs in that area. 3, a statement of the probable effect on impacted small businesses and consumers. Adding a required email address may come with a nominal expense if a licensee wishes to have a custom email rather than one provided by a free service. However, email allows faster communication, quicker responses regarding consumer complaints, and benefits the licensee by enabling online license renewals and services. 4, a description of any less burdensome, less intrusive, or less costly alternative to what we've proposed. There are no less burdensome alternatives to the updated contact information. There is no less burdensome manner that also considers consumer information security in relation to the secured door requirement. The updated conjoined business rule seeks to be less burdensome than the current requirement that does not allow a door. 5, a comparison of the proposed rule with any federal or state counterparts. There are none. 6, analysis of the effect of the possible exemption of small businesses from all or any part of these proposals. There are no known benefits to allowing businesses to be exempt from the updated contact information rule. While allowing broader means of connecting to conjoining businesses may appear beneficial to small businesses, the increased risk of consumer harm and difficulty enforcing other regulatory requirements offsets the apparent benefit of an exemption. Impact on local government, there is no projected impact. On to our questions from our friends at the Joint Government Ops Committee. A brief summary of the rule and description of changes. The First Amendment adds further requirements on what contact information an applicant must or should provide, specifically requiring an email address. The Second Amendment seeks to allow 2 conjoining businesses, with one being a licensed dealer, to have a door between those businesses. The door must not be used by consumers and should be secured and locked. Citation to any state law or federal law requiring these, there are none. Identification of entities that are most likely going to be impacted. The contact information update will affect all applicants and all dealers applying for renewals. While this will affect all licensees, the small burden it creates is not anticipated to create opposition to the rule change. The door rule represents a lessening of the restrictions on dealers conjoining other businesses, so it is not anticipated this rule change will draw opposition either. There are no, as far as identifying AG opinions or judicial rulings that would affect this, there are no known AG or judicial rulings that would necessitate this rule. An estimate of probable increase or decrease in state and local government revenues and expenditures. There's no estimated increases or decreases. And then there's my contact information and Tony's contact information. And that concludes my reading of the rules as quickly as I could. And so I think we're ready for a roll call vote, Chairman, unless there's questions.
Thank you. Consistent with the motion? I believe it is. Okay, roll call vote on this on the motion. Ms. Shaw. Dr. Shaw.
Commissioner West.
Yes.
Commissioner Tribanian.
Yes.
Commissioner Lee.
Yes.
Commissioner Barker.
Yes.
Commissioner Fox.
Yes.
Commissioner Galvin.
Yes.
Commissioner Norton.
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn.
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer.
Yes.
Commissioner Evans.
Yes.
Commissioner Tomaso.
Yes.
Chairman Roberts.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, motion carries.
Next we have is the appeal form that we went over, if you want to go over that.
Yes, I apologize. I don't know which page it's on, but there's on your iPad should be an updated version of the form that we give to our denied applicants. One of the things we had talked about was the possibility of proposing a rule that would require dealers attend these appeals. As we saw today, it's always beneficial to hear from the supervisors of our denied applicants. After conversation with Paula and Jason and working really hard on this, we realized it wasn't necessary to go through the rulemaking process, but rather we could amend the form to include language where the dealer was already attesting. So one of the suggestions was to make this a form that had to be formally notarized to prevent fraud, which Jason has added to the form. Additionally, the block in the bottom right corner for the sponsorship, that language we have worked to add. And what that would do is require and put the burden on the dealer to notify us immediately if, for any reason, the employment of that applicant is terminated. So we don't end up in a situation where we have an applicant before us, but the dealer is no longer willing to employ them, but they're still asking this body to approve a license. So we don't end up in that trap. But if we do, it would be on the dealer, and they would be basically, there's even possibly a complaint being opened if we wanted to pursue that route. So those are the changes we added. I think the hope is that it will encourage dealer participation in the process, and it also asks. I think we're asking them to submit something in writing if they can't attend as well, so that we always have some input from our supervising managers and owners. So that's the solution we came up with. We thought it might be better than going through the rule process and using the tool that you all gave us last year in that form, which has been really beneficial. And Jason did a fantastic job formatting it because it was no easy task. So.
He has done a great job.
Just to clarify, you are saying that the not just the dealer principal, but it can be in many cases the sales manager, the general sales manager. Or whatever.
Yes, I think
doesn't have to be the owner of the.
That's right. I think we have it listed as any as a representative.
Representative of the dealership.
So they can decide what that means for them.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The form applies to both salespeople and dealer applications. So if it's a dealer application, who would that person be? Okay, all right. It may cause some confusion. That's my only point.
Right. That's a good point.
We need to vote on adopting that change.
If you like the form as you see it, you can vote to approve it, and we will make sure it goes through the process as it is substantively. We may do some small formatting tweaks, but otherwise we'll keep the language as you see there and the intent moving forward.
Motion to approve the changes to the form as recommended by seconded by Commissioner Fox. Roll call vote. Director Shaw.
Commissioner West.
Yes.
Commissioner Chibanian.
Yes.
Commissioner Lee.
Yes.
Commissioner Barker.
Yes.
Commissioner Fox.
Yes.
Commissioner Galvin.
Yes.
Commissioner Norton.
Yes.
Commissioner Vaughn. Yes. Commissioner Jackson.
Yes.
Commissioner Kramer.
Yes.
Commissioner Evans.
Yes.
Commissioner Tomaso.
Yes.
Chairman Roberts.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Just anything? Any more business to take care of?
Approved.
Is there? Thank you for everyone's attendance and your attention and your patience. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Commissioner Jackson, motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Vaughn. Those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, you can hang around. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Switch that.